From the beginning of time, humans have always looked towards the sky for inspiration and guidance. There has been a fascination with birds, stars, gods, goddesses, and other entities which seem to exist above us, and for many humans, a strong yearning to travel into space. Man has dreamt of flight since observing space, and now it is time to become the space traveller. The future of space travel requires us to understand from where we came, to see where we are going.
Several thousand years ago, philosophers Mozi and Lu Ban from China were looking to the wind for flight. They invented kites using silk and bamboo, allowing for the later development of communication, measuring distances, testing the wind, and lifting men.
The invention of the kite brought with it the desire to fly. The first known attempts at flight were typically by leaping off towers, known as tower jumping. People in China, India, and Europe first attempted flight this way.
In 1670, Francesco Lana de Tarzi published a book that showed some interesting concepts. The concept of copper foil in a sphere with a vacuum would produce a vacuum airship. This is still not possible with today's materials. Francesco is recognized as the father of aeronautics, melding science and mathematics into aerial navigation.
The Chinese are believed to have developed the first hot air device. The Chinese lantern, using hot air from a candle, can take flight and was first used for signalling. The hot air balloon achieved the first human lift and advanced to what we know of as the Zeppelin.
The first attempts at flight in a heavier-than-air flying machine were made by more than just the Wright brothers. Most attempts failed, however, they were the stepping stones for what was to come later. The oldest airport, College Park, is still in operation today.
Airplanes evolved rapidly through the century, from propeller to helicopter to jet aircraft, and most of that technology is used today.
During the Second World War, Germany developed rockets that could go a limited distance. The basic rocket technology used then is still used today. The space race started with the Soviet Union and the USA in 1957 and led to many developments for the next step, the moon.
The spacecraft assigned as Apollo 11 was the first spacecraft to have landed on the moon. The space shuttle operated at tremendous cost. Burning the fuel proved to be wasteful and dangerous technology. The International Space Station, ISS, is a habitable artificial satellite that was assembled in low Earth orbit in 1998 with the use of the space shuttle. The ISS can often be seen with the naked eye from Earth.
SpaceX, as a private aerospace producer and space transportation services company, was founded in 2002 by Elon Musk with the goal of reducing space transportation costs and enabling the colonization of Mars. SpaceX reuses the first stage of their primary rocket, Falcon 9, by vertical propulsive landings. Although, up to present time, it still uses the rocket fuel burning technology. Mehran Keshe has always said, the time for burning fuels is over, but did we need to start with that technology in the first place?
Ancient cultures have suggested the use of an alternative means of transportation. With reference to possible plasma technology,
you can go to New York from Brussels within 2 to 5 minutes. And most of this 5 minutes is actually landing and getting up.
Mehran Tavakkoli Keshe was born in Iran in 1958. As the son of an X-ray engineer, he was introduced to the world of radiation and nuclear science at a very young age. In 1981, he graduated from Queen Mary, the University of London, as a nuclear engineer specialized in reactor technology system control. At that time, he developed a number of theoretical ideas related to more simple nuclear concepts and their applications. In 2002, he decided to finish the full design of his ideas about nuclear technology. This included the creation and control of gravity and energy by the use of nuclear materials in a clean and safe hydrogen reactor. Mehran Keshe introduced the concept of double magnetic fields to explain the magnetic and gravitational field of Earth.
Unknown by the existing scientific community, he wrote a number of scientific papers in 2004 and sent them for peer review, such as the creation of black holes. When one of the persons performing the peer review used his information in public, he decided to draw back his papers and to concentrate further on building prototypes.
Since the beginning of 2006, several prototypes of dynamic reactors have been built, some specifically designed to create hovering effects, similar to effects seen with magnetic levitation. Basic hovering effects have been achieved. 2007 brought the first flight test with radioactive material, in which the patents describe the process of the field interactions.
The main patent, Gravitational and Energy System, described the initial fundamental aspects of the plasma and uses. This was followed by the supplemental patent, Microplasma Reactors, where further uses and advancements were described. Mr. Keshe found himself in Iran in 2008 and was provided all the resources needed to create the first lift of a plasma reactor managed by the Iranian government. These special rotating gas reactors were used to control the plasma. To bring a deeper understanding, Mr. Keshe released the first book in 2009, The Universal Order of Creation of Matters, which contained many new concepts released to the public. This included the PMTIC plasma magnetic fields, initial fundamental plasma and plasma dilution technology used for space reactors. The plasma technology was further developed and it manifested in weight fluctuation in a controlled environment. 2010 introduced a new state of matter called GANS, an acronym for gas in nanosolid state. The GANS produces fields to be used in the operation of the spaceship. Advanced flight tests were performed in Iran with the guidance of Mr. Keshe and the newly designed systems.
Mr. Keshe tells us you can't bring all the doctors with you in space. Medical research advanced in 2010 and is still being explored daily all around the world. The Keshe Foundation has provided knowledge for dealing with many medical conditions in space.
A great example of plasma technology used for peaceful process is the capturing of the USA drone over Iran in December 2011. This drone was touted as one of the most advanced drones of its day, and was caught by Iran using plasma to disrupt the communications. Plasma absorbs fields, and the drone uses radio fields for piloting, a natural aspect of the plasma, a barrier of fields.
Book 2, The Structure of the Light, was released in 2011. This book brought forward the understanding of the structure of light as a cylindrical plasma where the light is in possession of all magnetic field strengths. Book 3, The Origin of the Universe, was published later in 2011. Mr. Keshe explained the further operation and interaction of different strengths of the same fields, which then leads to the creation of the universe. These 3 books bring forward a much deeper understanding of the plasma science that is applied worldwide by knowledge seekers and scientists in spaceship research and development.
There were 2 conferences to release the space technology to governments in 2012. The first international presentation in April, Keshe Foundation invited representatives of every country to the first presentation of the plasma technology. The second international presentation in September, Keshe Foundation invited the nations of the world through their ambassadors and their leaders to attend a gathering at the Keshe Foundation Center in Nenov, Belgium.
Space travel requires peace. The implementation of the plasma technology brings greater responsibility. In 2013, Mr. Keshe brought forward the World Peace Treaty. Signing of the Peace Treaty is a confirmation from yourself to your soul to act correctly in a peaceful manner.
In 2014, knowledge seekers came together from around the world to learn from Mr. Keshe, and many different experiments with reactors were performed, including improving the previously developed reactors to fit with the new knowledge, introduction of nano-coated reactors, multi-core GaN systems. The Spaceship Institute lab experiments were streamed live on the internet for all to see. SSI lab tests with reactors showed strong magnetic field pulses up to 129 Tesla and showed significant weight fluctuations. In December, an experiment was performed using reactors built by knowledge seekers from around the world. Italy, Germany, and Canada were involved in field communication tests. The tests showed that fields can interact with each other no matter the distance or time, resulting in instant communication.
In 2015, developments for space continued with different aspects of the plasma technology, such as in health, energy, and decontamination. In October of 2015, Mr. Keshe taught a popular week-long course called the Blueprint Teachings about how to build the MAGRAV power units. People from all over the world participated with building their own MAGRAV units and teaching others. With the demand of the Keshe Foundation products from all over the world, a new research center and manufacturing opened in Arizona, USA. Many developments of the technology happened in different parts of the world, and Keshe Foundation USA is no exception. John and the team started performing experiments using different sensing tools. These tools allowed the team to visualize the MAGRAV fields and to show others their interactions. With reactor formations showing positive results, partaking in the knowledge together is easier and more joyful than ever. The fun has just begun, says MT Keshe.
Mr. Keshe publicly teaches the space technology through the weekly Knowledge Seekers workshops. Plasma enthusiasts from around the world participate in gathering the knowledge and putting the puzzle together in the space race. All people, irrespective of race, nation or religion, are invited to participate in the exchange of knowledge, thus assisting humanity to live within the ethos of the universe. It is recognized that international cooperation and peace is a prerequisite for mankind to journey into deep space. Individuals and nations are invited to come together in the spirit of collaboration and unity to enable peaceful application and the use of plasma technology for space travel, food, agriculture, energy, transportation, health, and more. We are excited to release the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Blueprint to humanity.
Welcome everyone to the 232nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, July 12th, 2018. I'm your host, Rick Crammond, and as usual, we are joined with Mr. Mayran Tavakoli Keshe from the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute, and we will, I think we'll hear from him immediately here and get right into today's workshop. Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Yes, good morning, good day to you. As usual, as we say, wherever and whenever you listen to these Knowledge Seekers series of teaching. What we have taught up to now has covered a lot of things, a lot of aspects of the knowledge. And as we are pushing towards a spaceship program and our number of groups and people who are testing, and they get excited every time we teach something new and they think they found half of the questions, answers, and then they find out now there is more questions to answer, and it's becoming a progressive teaching. And this is what I think is needed to be done, than delivering a system complete and then nobody knows how to do it, and then becomes just copycatting with the essence of what we are after. In the recent past, we've seen a lot of moves by number of people trying to understand more, replicating different part of the system. And in so many ways, the knowledge has to become commonly accepted and commonly understood that there is no doubt in its operation and its work. One of the biggest problems with the present space technology which we are introducing is what is going to do with the others. What we have seen up to now in tradition of the science, especially in the space program, as we've seen with the Russians and we've seen it with the time of Hitler, which initially started with the rocket propulsion and everything else. This is so many ways goes back to the time of the Chinese with their what you call fireworks, and we have accepted it. This is the only way, and we have every time we tried something new, somehow things did not happen the way it was supposed to be. So we come to accept the old traditional way of 600-700 years ago. But the biggest problem for the present scientists of the Keshe Foundation is how fast from now on we can introduce different aspects of the technology. Um, there are a number of systems which are running, number of groups have or individuals thought they can find a way to achieve lift and motion. But as I've said many times, lift and motion is nothing. Is the beginning of the headache. Is the beginning of the headache for mankind to know now they can do, but how to do it. How do we achieve a lot of things? The one of important things that will come out very soon. In a short time, once we start showing, as we've seen with Arizona, and I've seen a couple of instances with Chinese testing. Um, was the Pandora box of the lift and motion without fuel or replacement of air or what we call burning of fossil fuels or energies which we are up to now, we're used to it. This will stop a lot of governments spending money on these kind of technologies. And the investment will go towards how fast we can achieve the new understanding, the new process. How can we add to it? What are the things which we need? The employment which come from this new research in next few weeks and months, as I see it, which is going to take shape, will be beyond our imagination. And I have started what we call a platform, and this platform will take shape in a different way by those who understand we don't have enough people on this planet to support man in space. We don't have enough trained intellect to take man into space in the long term, and in so many ways space, the way I have thought, has not become and cannot become exclusivity of one nation as American, Chinese, whatever and whatever to be. It becomes property of one nation as one planet. But what I see, what I look at in past few months, now that we are on the verge of the opening the space the way we are doing, Earth will be depopulated. To what extent is what we decide. Do we create passports which we allow how many people can leave a country? Would we face in the Western world what Africa has faced for decades? That the brain drain has gone into the Western world and Africa has suffered. Now the Western world will lose massive brain drain into space. One of the reasons of it is the beauty of the space, the freedom of the space, the understanding that new dimension in space travel, what brings us. how can we support this depletion? In so many ways, we have done a lot of injustice to ourselves, and now it's coming to catch up. And now, in so many ways, the changes will come that what we call humanity will decide how much and how many people we can lose into space. Or, in a way, we allow them to immigrate. Those who hardly ever come back. Those who will not come back. Those, when they see the beauty of the space, will not choose the harshness of life on this planet. In past few weeks, I've spent many sleepless nights thinking how I can guide mankind into understand how and what is sitting in horizon for it. In so many ways, there's a big question mark in the past few days for me, is that have I prepared the mankind for such a change? Prepared enough? Or do we need to let this to run for maybe a couple of 100 years, that then gradually things build up, but by then we'll have the same rat race as today. Those who have nothing claim to be the leaders, and those who actually supply the backup to everything live in a starvation. In so many ways, what I see is the need for the change in teaching. And I brought that into the meeting of the Universal Council. Teaching of just Thursdays or just what they call KFSSI has to be taken out to public. Very simple leaflets that the man on the street can understand. Very simple teaching that the man on the street knows how things are and how he can help himself. Simple pictures. That doesn't need reading. If you are illiterate, does not mean you stay behind. Simple understanding of the technology by simple people will bring a lot of benefit to humanity. But can we stop the rest of the humanity who is learning and moving fast on this to slow down that the others can catch up? In the last week teaching and the week before, those of you who are working and being on the edge of the space development have received a lot of knowledge, but none of you is using it. Because, as I said, my son tell me, Papa, it just goes over my head. Because you don't see what to do with it. You don't see how to use it. You don't see what is the benefit of it to me. A few of you grasp the dynamic systems and you made some medical applications. Some of you gone for the gases. Some of you happy with the coils, and some of you are happy to do different little things. But the effort has to be concentrated. Somehow it's the job of the Earth Council and Universal Council and the core team to jellify the whole work of the foundation towards one direction. What I see, the time of rest is over. In a coming time, do we keep the technology only in the hand of, at the moment what I see, 3 nations who are working heavily in the background, and then the governments will take it? Now there are 7 nations who are heavily involved in plasma technology of the Keshe Foundation. We see them working, we see them developing, and 3 of them, 4 of them are within the Keshe Foundation structure, but the government are sitting in the background watching what's going on. What do we do? How do we teach? How do we take this to the next step? There is a lot to teach, but what I think is a time to pause. But if we pause, the momentum we created for space development will die, and we cannot allow that. But how do we allow teachings to become mass teachings? Not just by showing against, not by showing anything else. The shock will come when, for example, Chinese will show their space technology. It's on the verge. It's literally getting the last pieces. Test has been done. The motors are running. The whole plasma structure is fully loaded. It's just the knickknacks, little, as we call, the last glitches that we make absolute perfect connections. And once the Chinese team completes this process, is inevitable they fly. There is no way that Chinese team can fail unless something goes drastically wrong in the whole structure, which we try to prevent most of it. Whatever we could see, we have brought in new technology, new understanding, new joint operation of the systems. And if we do not grasp this opportunity and override our operation and teachings in a mass and in a huge way, what will be the outcome? We carry the blueprint, we can release the blueprint, but would that create massive changes? And at the same time, do we need these changes? The Chinese system is the most comprehensive system ever been developed. It's literally a copy of the universal system. The most advanced system which can use everything possible has been built into this system. Except mechanical failure, which in so many ways in past week I have even taken that out, that mechanically systems cannot fail unless something goes beyond it wrong. We have gone into the direct plasma transfer, which is what I spoke last time, that even the dynamic systems are out of question, they're obsolete. I've taken the Chinese system into the full plasma technology, irrelevant of the containment. I work with a beautiful team, very small team, and it's getting there. They don't see it because they are not knowledgeable enough to understand what is going on. But what is set up is what I explained last week, the week before, that the medical system we saw with Klaus, they are literally obsolete. The new non-dimensional, non-tangible plasma system I've developed and set for the Chinese development. It's very primitive. It's because this is how it could be understood and it could be put together. The existence of the motors become irrelevant, but is a help. As I said before in the teachings, the condition of beauty of the knowledge of the man and condition of this atmospheric condition has an advantage, that it gives mankind one step up in the totality of the science of space compared to the others who went through this path in the universe. As we say, we've fallen in love with the beauty of a space, but we do not know how dangerous this love affair is. We have to be prepared for it. We are not. We don't even know how at this moment to overcome the condition of the physicality. A question was asked yesterday in one of the teaching rooms, that how would happen to us? What would happen to us when we come back to Earth? You got to understand, you travel the depth of the universe for a long time. In the first instant, when you lose the need to eat, and you take from the space of the spaceship what you need as energy, and the body converts inside it and it gives it back. There is no waste, there is no need for the mouth, and there is no need for the eyes, because you come to understand with the eye you cannot see. How far can you see? Very small. You're traveling at the speeds beyond the speed of light. Eyes doesn't see but flashes of light. It closes itself because the amount of the light and information transfer is beyond what it can accept. Then we go back to understanding combination of the soul of the man and the physicality of the man in being able to survive the life. And when you come back to this planet, going back home, how do you convert back to physicality? Or does your physicality just takes the shape of the man, but in reality, in the background, is a different dimension to its existence? You see the mouth, you see the eye, because this is what the man likes to see. But do you actually go through the whole process? How do we recognize the condition? How do we transmute? How do we come back and we settle to that? That is me, I left, but I've come back, it's still me. The condition of this planet confirms it, but sorry, I cannot eat because I've learned I absorb energy in different dimensions, but I still go to the party and pretend eating it. Put something in this space gap we call the mouth, but it goes nowhere. These are what man has to learn. And these are what we have to accept. How do we make the children of the future in the space? How do we understand the growth of the knowledge? How do we speak, communicate with the man of the space and even with ourselves? Many times, those who have traveled into space come back to Earth, move fast out because they see the feature of the physicality of the man's and his behavior, and it's not what they're used to. Therefore, they disgusted with what they see and they leave. This is not the first time man is going to space, as I've said many times before. But this time, the teaching is in mass. The knowledge is shared in mass because it's the time for man to move on. I'm not here to prove a machine which changes cancer or a machine which does something else or some energy system. They're here to change the fundamental understanding of the man about the creation and about himself and how he can travel the depth of the universe. The new system of the Chinese, which is non-tangible, physical plasma reactors, is very much operation of the soul of the man. If you look and understood the transportation and you have looked into many UFO sightings, which are real UFO sightings, you don't see motors and engines, you just see ball of lights inside. There's no containment. Now I've taken the knowledge for the Chinese development to that level. But would the man be ready to take this knowledge on board and create through it peace? It is not a fear, it's not a danger. It's a rejoicing of advancement in knowledge, but at the same time trying to keep some people who have used a few pieces of paper, most of them by cheating and copywriting other people's to get degrees and professorships, are controlling the rest. Do we have a university and graduation in this space? Or through the KFSSI, we have set the example of the space education. You learn what you need, you take what you need, there is no degrees and no certification. The depth of the knowledge starts opening now. And the beauty of it is that is in the hand of normal people. Common people carry the knowledge, not the governments. As we've seen, everything has been kept top secret, and what they wanted has been released if it made them money. But this time, people are doing it, and there is no secret. This is what we call the rules of this planet do not like with Keshe Foundation. This is what they do not want to see, that they lose control. But in so many ways you have lost the control. All of us lost control. All comes to one point. And this is what I said to somebody very recently. The way we work and we make, let's say, China prosperous through this development of this technology, what would it create? You got 1.4 million, 1.3 million next door India, so many percentage in poverty. Is the job of the Chinese to move on, or is it the job of the Indians to teach on to their own nations, to their own people? The beauty with this technology is that there will not be riches and there will not be poor. Anybody can be rich in the knowledge and use it the way they want. But we have to understand the technology. We have to understand more about the technology. We have to understand how this technology is going to affect every one of us. If we can, in a coming time, through the Chinese structure, show non-tangible reactors for space development and transportation, what is going to happen to government? What's going to happen to governing governments? Or we become, as part of development of one nation, govern ourselves. Do we need to condition ourselves that the others are better than us or we are better than them? Or we all work on the same way, on the same bandwidth, on the same understanding? This is a dilemma I carry in past few weeks as I see the Chinese technology reaching the maturity of non-tangible reactors. I admire the guys who work, and they are so hard at it that is unbelievable. They just want to get the system, but they don't see what the system is carrying behind in the background. Sits 2 units, most advanced units mankind will ever understand. I've taken mankind's knowledge of a space to the level that it literally is like China not having anything and suddenly becoming so advanced in everything because they started from advancement of the other nations. Now is the advancement of the whole universal knowledge which is coming to China. And we carry every knowledge with it to be able to create total confirmation of everything man needs to live in any point of universe. I said before, when I take man to space, I take him as equal, not as subordinate. And the situation and the systems in China is near getting to that equal. I loaded every reactor by hand, one by one. I have singularly decided on the sequence of loading. I've transferred the knowledge of universe into the hand of the man. What I did in Iran for the Iranian government exactly 10 years ago, I've done for the Chinese. There'll be no error. I took Iran into dimension of new space technology. I've taken China into the new dimensions of universal travel. It's for them to understand what they have, but I carry the blueprint. If the Chinese block that do not share, we release the blueprint. So it's time to move on. It's time to leapfrog to another step. As I said, I repeat myself again, the dynamic systems are already obsolete. We use the beauty of the knowledge of the man to show what is there. And now it's for them to go to the next step into the plasma direction. Don't forget, we started with magnetic cups, then we wrote the GANs, and you get the coils, then you understood the dynamic cores, and now we come to the operation of non-dimensional containment of plasma, which leads to creation of physicality. And this is how the universe is created. There are no motors, there are no what you call feeding stations, but it's the balance of what is needed, by whom is needed, where is needed, that it leads to conformation of physicality at a given space of time. As I said, as we say, we're only 5% or 3% of the universe we see is covered or be covered by the mass of stars. But in reality, the other 95, 97%, which we say is a free space, is not. Is a matter state in another strength that us is within it. What we see is at the strength level of us, not the strength level that the space between the universes and galaxies are empty. It's not. Is there a space gap between your muscle of your femur and your femur? Then that is gap between masses or the density of the space in this universe. What we see is a matter state of man's point of observation. But when our point of observation changes in strength, we'll see we are actually in a very solid state tight magnetic field. We don't see our kidney hanging inside on its own. It's connected, it's corrected, it's in the tight space gap. So what we call the stars and galaxies are in that tight space gap, in environment of another structure which is more powerful, that this stays at this level. So man has to learn. It's not traveling in a free depth of space, it's traveling within a well-structured dimension and physicality. We think there is nothing from here to the moon, or there is nothing from our solar system to another, because we see through. But in fact, that space is fully covered within the structure of another structure, which man has to learn about. Then, when you slow down, you reach the matter of physicality of the observation of the man. So, if our little bone in our little toe is there on its own, how is it connected and is joined to the next bone and to the foot and to the leg and the rest of the body? So what we see as stars is that little tiny bone in the whole structure of the rest of physicality. And there is no space gap between the bone in the small toe of the man and his brain or his mouth or his stomach. Everything is fully covered by materials to make sure that bone stays in that position. That is why in the space we see stars and galaxies stay in their position. Because the bigger structure holds on to it, is part of the gel of the structure of the universe. Man still has to need that new dimension. Because you cannot jump out of the skin like a worm as you've been inside. You have to learn how you can be part of it, that you can come on the surface of it. How does the skin of the man regenerates from the absorption of the energy that you digest? And then in the other step, man learns how even to move from the shell of solar systems into the shell of galaxies and the shell of the universes, from one universe to another. It's not that you can fire yourself out, is you have to place yourself to be out. And then you start to travel from one dimension to another. Or you find a way that you can mix with the field, the strength of the environment, that you become part of it, you become diluted in it, but at the same time you can keep your characteristics. It's like a sugar. A solid you put hot water is not there, but you can taste the sweetness. Confirmation of existence through another dimension of observation. We don't see it with the eye, but we can confirm its existence by the senses of the tongue. Another dimension in the structure of the field strength. Very much like the odor. Odor is actually a gas in diamond structure or hexagonal structure of itself. And then if you understand that, you can convert anything to any condition, any matter condition. In the teaching of last week, I explained this in respect to H2, how it behaves with magnets, and how if you allow it with one material, you can convert into any sequences. This is what I taught last week. A lot of people wondered how it's done, how it can be done. And in reality, if you look, I was teaching this to some knowledge seekers yesterday. And in so many ways, what you need to understand is you created the H2. You created, where are you, boy? You created the hydrogen. Then you created D2. Then you created H3. So this is your hydrogen. This is your H2. And this is your H3. So as you see, to have a H2 from H3, you need to lose something. To have a hydrogen from H2, you need to lose something. But if you add to H, you can get a H2, and if you add enough to H2, you can get H3. So if you have one of these elements, you can make the others. But how do you do it? In the teaching of last week, I explained, and some people could not understand, and they just took the knowledge in a different way. If you look at it, I explained to you very simply. If you get a magnet, north and south, and then you allow the H2, which is usually black in the color, or gray, depends how you made it, what happens? What is happening? Go back to the teaching of the medical application. The energy travels. When the energy travels, in its way, if it is done the right way, can take energy with it. But I can bring energy too. But because of its communication and conversion and losses to its environment, you can change this to hydrogen because you take energy out of it. But if you go back into putting two north poles together, what does the north pole do? It pushes energy too. So now there is massive amount of energy inside within the H2, which absorbs energy, available energy, which is in the plasmatic condition. So what happens? This adds energy to H2. It gives you H3. So you see the color of the black of H2 changes into orange of H3. But you can do the reverse. If you put the same south and south together, and then you put your H2 inside, you deplete, because what does the south do? The energy is depleting. It has to be taken from where H2 is. So it gives you H. So in so many ways, you can create a condition. And then if you understand this, when you have a H2, H3, or a H, In them trying to create balance, they create a dynamic plasma. In a way, what you create, as you see in your spaceships, dynamic colors. John is on that wedge. He's got the balls, but he doesn't know what to do with his balls. How to operate. So, in so many ways, if you see what you call UFOs and you see the light on the edge of the system, now, as I said before, you know how it comes. And you don't need to organize it. It'll organize itself. But you can create a condition inside the system that this can rotate on its own. You see, the knowledge is so simple. And it's been there all the time on the table. How do you create it? How do you do it? There's still methods to do this. It's not so as you see it. So, if you understand this, you have created a non-tangible plasmas which are dynamic. This is how stars move. This is how planets move. This is how every universal condition creates motion and creates its directional motion and in so many ways positioning. The science is so sweet. This knowledge is so mature. It's just that somehow the knowledge seekers don't see, they're not awakening up to be able to understand what is going on. How have they achieved this? How we passed all this with such a soft touch and nobody has picked on it. In so many ways, I teach with words and you as knowledge seekers convert it into material systems or whatever. But the time has come. As I said before, we will show the power of this technology in such a rapid way that will force changes in many directions. Be it on agriculture, be it on material, be it on space, be it on health. And we don't go outside the foundation, we work within the foundation. In the past few hours, those who are aware of it in the foundation, we have gone for the mass production of the generators, plasma generators with a zero option, which means freestanding generators. I decided to show it, to bring it out, and I have started the process, and hopefully in next 2-3 weeks we'll take it to its final phase. But I don't bring it for you to have a free energy at home. Is done for the purpose of the production of energy for the new spaceship systems which are coming into line. It's time now to release the generator, and we have entered negotiation with a company outside Keshe Foundation. That is their job. We'll see how it goes with them. We told you for months that we have the technology. Technology has been explained to company outside Keshe Foundation for the production. So we have set up to release what you call your free plasma generators. Zero time space. Most probably by next Friday will be on the table, and then we have to decide in how It'll be done internationally outside China. This brings us to the point of any Tesla car doesn't need recharging. As I said in the meeting, you buy a Tesla car from the factory with a charged battery, with a new technology, and then the last time you discharge it is when it goes into a scrapyard. Does not need recharging any time in its point of life. We need to bring massive changes that the governments start listening, and we change the course, and we have started. Spaceship, non-plasmatic, what you call non-tangible physical system, directly plasma driven. The generators come out within the next few, most probably the basic structure of the next couple of weeks, 2-3 weeks will be launched. Will be outside in partnership with, as we grow. There is Keshe Foundation does not have the facilities to bring it, but in so many ways we can do it. It'll be done in Western Europe, hopefully, and we'll take it to its final phase. Because it's time now. We were waiting for a spaceship to be ready. Now we are ready. We bring for all the changes in one go. Conversion of the energy into mass, conversion of energy into matter state, conversion of energy into every other condition has started. So it goes back to Universal Council, it goes back to the Earth Council and the core team. Start mass teaching. Your job started. This is the responsibility of you in your languages. Come up with a plan, how you're going to teach, how it is. Do not make it a magic show. We will bring the magic. We are now ready to go. And to do it is to literally destroy the present energy system relying on, destroy the new space system we're relying on, destroy the food structure we're relying on, destroy the whole structure of the what we call agriculture process by letting it become obsolete. Let it become too laborious to even use. Why should a man put a seed down and wait 6 months that it grows? Maybe the wind, maybe the rain, maybe genetic modification will harm him, create cancer in him, and he puts all his life on it just to have something to eat for next 6 months to sell some of it there. Now we entered non-tangible plasma systems. We can feed the humanity in a very easy way. I thank the Chinese team. I walked them through and they just did. You have a gorgeous guy head of the Keshe Foundation research in China with the space. He's put his life on it and I respect him. And it's a pleasure to work with these people because nothing matters. Achieving the target to create peace through new technology is the ultimate goal. And it'll be sure. So I have made everything ready. It's for you now to start the process. Knowledge is getting complete. Delivery of the knowledge is getting complete. It's just if you're gonna fight in every court for why you did this and why you did that, is to show such a powerful technology that those who created the problem become the problem for themselves. We work through new technology. In next 2 or 3 weeks, we start releasing information. I've received instruction from the Chinese government not to release any videos or any information unless it's agreed by the government. But the technology belongs to Keshe Foundation and belongs to all of us. We have built it together to where it is. We abide by the rules of the nations, but the bigger structure is Chinese government has to open the technology worldwide to all other nations on equal measure. I see the development and confirmation to be done at the same time in Tehran and Beijing. It has to be done that way. It's where the civilization of the Silk Road started, and it's very mature. One end to the other. No nation is excluded. It's how they approach it and what they want to do with it. I gave a hint in the very recent days that the sanctions on Iran from 1st of November, most probably there'll be no need for oil. There'll be sanctions on all of us with all the oil production. If you remember, some 2 years ago, 3 years ago, just about this time, when we were battling with Sterling case, at the same time, we were talking to the Saudis government. The presence of one of the senior cabinet ministers of the Saudi in with us in one hotel, I gave them the message. You tank as much, sell as much, because soon there'll be none. And the Saudis were shocked. They know it's coming. The oil producing nations know it's coming. And in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we start releasing the power generators, self-sustaining power generators. The first phase, even as early as today, is going to be started in Western Europe for testing, setting up the test. We gave the same chance to Africa, we gave the same chance to South America, we gave the chance to the Americans, North Americans, to the Asians, to Australians and the rest. And the beauty of it is, the system has been in front of you for years. How the system works, how it becomes a self-generator, as I explained, has been with you for years. You do not see it, you haven't seen it, but now what we said, we can produce 1 megawatt systems in the size of a shoebox. That shoebox is about to open and show the beauty of the shoe. But we have to understand the knowledge that all of us get benefited by it. It's what we have to understand, the science, as is on the screen. In a very simple way, I showed you how you can change matters. But there's still a secret in that. You have to unravel it. It's not so easy. You have to understand how. I taught you how to make neutrons, but you have to understand how you make what I call double neutron set to be able to use your energy, or how you allow a neutron to divide into 2 subdivisions that you can create the fields flow from it, that you can absorb it and use it. The beauty of the new knowledge is that it's complete and it's accumulation of all the knowledges which I've taught you. It's totality of what I have taught you. Any questions?
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. And as usual, I'll remind the attendees that they can raise their hands in order to ask a question. I have a question, Mr. Keshe. Do the
That's very
same...
unusual.
Yes, well, do the same principles that you show here with the, in respect to the ganses that you've been showing, would also apply to gases? And would that apply to the actual physicality gases of hydrogen, deuterium, and tritium?
Not really, because they have reached the matter state.
Mm-hmm.
Some research has been done to do this. Somebody who did some work in that direction was Tesla, but he could not complete it. In some of his papers, he refers to this trying to convert through magnetic field matter states. Da Vinci tried, but could not understand the process. There are a couple of Russian scientists who have tried this. American naval forces tried it in the early 60s, 70s in different version of it. And it was supposed to become a very secret technology that if they could convert matter through the magnetic fields, and never achieved it. The reason they can't, because it's already lost enough energy to become in a matter state. When you work in a plasma state, you work with a full energy set. And this is what is important. This is what we need to understand.
Okay, but in your original patent, where we see the different kinds of reactors that usually are talking about using gases, and we have this interaction between the layers of the gases and so on to provide a self-sustaining reaction eventually. So, but that's an entirely different process.
Can you repeat exactly what you said again?
Well, in your patents, we see different kinds of reactors, and most of them are described as using gases, the layers of gases, not ganses, to clarify, not ganses, but gases in those reactors. And I'm wondering if it's a similar process with the conversion of the hydrogen, and in those reactors you have a self-sustaining reaction that's described, but it requires the ignition key of the scintillating source in order to get everything going, and there is some matter level stuff that gets used up, some hydrogen or helium or whatever that would get converted.
If you carry on.
No, go ahead.
No, carry on. Sorry about that. Carry on.
Well, I'm just I'm trying to see if there's some correlation between what you're teaching here and the previous document of the patent.
In a way, if you understood the pattern in a matter state and look at the battery operation and understand that the system is, in a way, if you take it to the next level, a gas and a gas, what is the gas? It's a gas in nano state. And so it's the same. When we speak about the gas, we break up. Let's look at the uranium space reactor, nuclear-based reactor. What do? We placed massive amount of radioactive material to support the change, conversion into plasma, and then into energy which has become dynamic plasma. Look at your thyroid gland, look at your thymus. What do? Exactly the same. They convert the energy to high level of radiation. So where we speak about gases, but when you change the word from a gas to a gans, then you do not work in a matter state, you work in a field state. That's all. But when you work in a field state, then you have to understand the operation of the magnetic field of higher order, that you can cut the fields. When the field starts from here to the moon, what we saw would say if you can bend the light. What is the light? Light is a magnetic field. But can you cut a light and take a portion of it? This is what man has not learned, and this is what in fact you do when you use nuclear material. You take a portion of fields. And so you have to convert the knowledge, what we call, what is a centralization? Centralization is adding, creating, release of energy, which can cut, give additional energy to create ionization. What is ionization? Singularity of the plasma. What would happen now that you work in the dimension of the field? And this is the reality, what we need to understand. That a gas in patterns, change it to a gas, which is a gas in a nano state. But now you work with the fields of the gas, not with the matter state of the gas. Any other question?
Hello, Mr. Keshe.
Oh, hello, John.
Hi, how are you?
Not too bad. Our spaceship captain, are you in a fly path?
We try every day.
Would you like to share some knowledge with us?
Well, let me ask a question first.
Oh my God, I have to give to take?
Yes.
I gave you a lot last week.
Oh, you did. So we've been attempting to create a neutron, or actually, I think we create more than one neutrons. But you know, the question came up, and I didn't have a real good explanation. But when we make GANs, don't we also create neutrons in the GANs that are floating around in separate from electrons and the protons?
We have not produced separate electrons or protons. We produce plasma of fields, but of different measure.
And are the neutrons separate?
In some processes of production of the GANs, you produce neutron. But the division of the neutron is very rapid because of the environment you create to hydrogen. And that hydrogen rapidly creates water. And that's why maybe now I repeated this before, I repeat it again, that I ask many times, go on the teaching, says, have you ever measured the level of water in your tanks to see if it goes up? And nobody does. But in fact, you have produced neutrons, that those neutrons rapidly convert in the hydrogen and you get a H2. The way you create a CO2 in your buckets, that H2 creates the water which increases. Many of you have been trying to create water, and this is how it's done. But you're too busy not worrying about menial things like producing water. So now, if many of you have measured, understood, yes, you've been producing neutron, but you never captured it, and the capturing of it in that state, especially with CO2, is not such an easy thing because you haven't created a condition for capturing it.
And is that the salt environment then?
Yes.
So we create a different salt environment in which to catch it?
Oh, you don't need to create a different salt environment. You can use the same salt environment.
So why wouldn't the original GANs be the salt, that salt environment? Why didn't that catch it?
You actually do catch it, as I explained, due to energy within the environment, especially with CO2. You release neutron, which immediately becomes hydrogen, splits to electron and proton due to the massive absorption of the fields within the environment of it. You produce neutron from the first day. Now you are going to recapture it back or separate it if you want to do it.
So that's where the center ball in these reactors come into play, where we put enough pressure in the center ball to capture it.
Maybe what you want to put pressure on it. Maybe it's the way to do it.
So we pull it in gravitationally into the center ball.
You can do. But how you separate it and hold it? You see, if you produce pure neutron in certain salinity, which we have discussed, or you can get near to it, your neutron saturated salt water should be around horizon.
Say that again?
The color of the GANs, or the color of the salt where you have captured neutron in it, is very much pinkish color, yellow pinkish color. You see, I was showing this to one of the knowledge seekers. You have to understand what you produce. You take a salt, which what you call it, salt solution, which you use for your GANs, and put it in a bowl, a separate bowl. This is my reference color before I put anything in it. And then when you have created the environment, when you capture only neutron, be it in another salt ball, put the two balls next to each other. The only thing which has been in that environment, nothing but energy of the neutron, which is converted into plasma of itself in that water. Are the colors the same? The same original salt water and this salt water you're holding. So you'll see, if the same color is the same water, it means you haven't captured anything. I explained this in the teaching very recently. So if you have captured a neutron in it, understanding that your ball was in a magnetic gravitational field of a plasma, because between the plates is a magnetic field of the carbon or whatever, then It is very much plasma, and its existence will reflect the plasmatic field flow in the water. So if you took your salt sample from where you started and you keep it in one of these see-through plastic balls, and then you take a sample of your, what do you think if you have captured, you put the same salt water in a bowl in the middle, and you think if you capture the what do you call neutron, how do you know? Very simple, you put it next to the one which was original without any neutron. Same color means you haven't achieved it. And then the new color, which is usually pinkish yellow, pinkish, more to direction of pink, according to its saturation in the gravitational magnetic field, then you see you captured. You have neutron in your hand. Then you can use it. But there's a much easier way to capture a neutron without actually going through the process. You can create condition for flight for it. It's as I said in the teaching before, you need one atom of, for example, certain elements, while the popcorn of the diamond is getting created, to be in it to give it a color pink. You heard of a pink diamond?
Yes.
So go and find out what it makes it pink, and then go and find out the structure of the matter, the state of the plasma.
Do you like Himalayan pink salt?
I don't know. As they say, everyone's got a mustache. It's not your uncle, is it? Just because it's a pink salt is from Himalaya, it's going to have in it. Maybe it has.
I think the pink is due to the iron in Himalayan salt.
What is the reason for pink in diamond? Come on, you guys, you got a beautiful Wikipedia in your hand.
I'm furiously typing away.
Wait till you give us an answer. You want me to go to sleep? Or do you want John to tell us his secrets till you look for it? So John, have you achieved anything you want to share with us? Hello, John?
Yeah, did you see the video I sent you earlier? You want me to share that?
I haven't seen any video from you.
Okay.
Which one?
It has to do with our new structure for creating the diamond structure.
Do you want to share it?
Okay, but you know, I think when we share, everybody kind of has to understand that we're in a testing phase, and just because we share doesn't mean it's the correct method.
Yeah, you're very good in throwing people in the deep end. You're worse than me. And because John has done it, it must be because they do it, they talk to him, and then there must be. But they do that, but to understand, it's a what do you call it, open test trial.
Open test trial is correct.
Yeah. Okay, you want me to stop sharing that you're sharing?
Hold on, I want to pull it up in the background. Oops.
Okay, fiddle around and tell me when you're ready.
Okay, hold on.
Rick, have you got there yet? Do you know why it's so expensive?
Well, it's interesting. It's hard to tell exactly. It has something to do with the way they're formed under pressure, I believe. John, could you mute your microphone, please? You're getting feedback from it. Thank you.
I'm sorry.
It has to do with, I believe, the way it's formed in its under pressure and so on. And it's interesting that that the, where is it here? I'm just trying to get the Diara-e-Dur diamond and the Nur al-Ain diamond are the oldest known pink diamonds, and both belong to the Iranian crown jewels. Several other famous pink diamonds exist as well, it mentions. The prevailing theory is that the pink is caused when the diamond is subjected to enormous pressure during its formation. And it has to do with this seismic shock that propels colorless diamonds to the surface and alters their molecular structure, causing them to appear pink. So the structure is actually altered in some minor way, at least, because it would still be the diamond structure, of course, but has a different.
It has an element in it. It's got a gaseous element into it. You change the in the diamond business. If you cut where this minute gas position is, you lose the color to white. This is the same with the blue. Is a pressure, is a gas pressure which is within inside, and it reflects the light through it. It's in a way is a magnetic field in a nano state, in the gas state of it, and this is the reason why you get different color ganses. And then you understand it's the existence of different gaseous conditions as you change, as you pressurize, as you extract, that leads to creation of color. So it has an element gas plasmatic condition nanostate, because it opens up, that it gives it the color. Is now the pressure and orientation of it, because otherwise the minute you cut a stone, you change its orientation and you change its pressure on the stone, and we should never be able to hold the stone pink. It's just like a seed.
And it does mention that yellow diamonds contain traces of nitrogen and blue diamonds contain boron, but it says no similar impurities have been found in pink diamonds, leading scientists to speculate that the color may be the result of some kind of seismic shock that altered the stone's molecular structure.
Maybe
so they're not really sure.
Maybe for the first time we can explain what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And if you move that pressure, I used to be in the diamond business, and one of the biggest nightmare of diamond cutters is color stones. They have no problem with white stone, because you've got to see where the mother is and you cut it out. It's finding out where exactly this gaseous pressure sits. And by accident, if it's on the edge and it gets cut off in trying to cut the stone, you have a white stone on it. Many big pink diamonds, when they get cut, they put people on top of the cutter, that they don't convert the stone because this has suddenly changed to white, but it just happens that you release that what you call neutron gas inside it, and it changes color. And so, if you understand this, you understand why we have different colors even in our ganses. It's a nanostructure plasma, right? What and how it orients itself. Would you like to share your video with us, John? You are mute, and we don't hear anything.
I think he's resharing.
Okay, here we go.
In this process, we have.
If you could turn the audio down a bit, that'd be good, John. If you're gonna keep the audio.
Yeah, you have to share the computer audio.
If you turn the volume to about half volume, that's usually good for the Zoom. Zoom increases the volume.
To obtain the different hydrogens, deuteriums. In this process, we have the regular CO2 kit, as you see here, the two plates, the CO2 kit.
All hooked up and ready to go.
All connected in series with we have two elements. We have a regular CS3 and we have H3 that we're going to be producing the crystalline structures in this for our fuel. We start by changing the container has to have a different pH, different salinity. The container in the upper part has to be alkaline, and the water of the container has to be acidic.
And right now that pH in the water is 8.8 in both of the two containers, correct?
Correct. And now we're going to do the mixture of 2/3 of the CS3 or H3 that we are doing in each container, plus 1/3 of CO2 with salt.
Unwashed CO2.
Unwashed CO2 that we're going to put in each container.
20 milliliters each. 20. Go to 20. Okay. Okay.
Well, after this, we're going to use the NaOH to increase. This is the NaOH, food grade.
Okay.
Light, and we're going to increase. We're going to put a teaspoon. Teaspoon. We're going to put a teaspoon.
About a half teaspoon, David.
Half. Okay.
Yeah, and then let's check the pH level.
To change the pH, we have right now 7.7, and we're going to increase it to.
Go ahead and stick it in there.
It went at 11.8.
11.8. Okay.
Almost 12.
Let's do the same thing in the other one.
It went to
12. That was the H3. Same thing. Maybe a little bit lighter on this. Okay. You did about three quarters of a
7.4 now. We're going to increase it to see how much it's going. It has to be alkaline, the alkaline level.
Okay, go ahead and measure it.
And it went to 13.2.
13.3.
3 is the alkalinity of the...
13.4.
Yeah, it's increasing.
Still going. See, that was probably a little bit too much, but that's okay.
And when we need
okay, this one's 12.3. Okay, then we're going to take those.
We're going to put in the center of the containers. We're going to place now the
go slow there
container in the middle of the two plates.
So it's resting in the water. In the two plates, pull the plates back just a little bit.
Move the plates out.
Okay, perfect.
And this one.
Same thing on this one.
And we're going to put the plates in the center.
Bend it down good.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay. All right, that's it.
So what do we have achieved with this?
So that was our attempt to create a crystalline structure by utilizing the varying salt, one more alkaline and one more acidic. So we're moving the fields via the acidity and the alkalinity.
So what would that do for us? We are going backwards in the knowledge or going forwards?
Well, it was our thinking. We wanted to try a different way of creating the carbon structure. We're doing the magnets. We're doing another couple things, but we wanted, because this process takes a little while in creating the diamond structure, we wanted to have a couple ways moving forward all at the same time to see which one we like the best.
So which one do you like the best now?
We haven't achieved any. It takes time.
You whet our appetite and then you say nothing?
So it's a different way of creating the. We think it's a different way of creating the diamond structure.
So what are you going to do with it?
So if we get that diamond structure, kind of like what you showed in your picture, then we can put that into our top reactor to create a stronger H3 field, tritium field, an activated tritium field. And we also created a neutron structure where we created the balls like you indicated last time, where you put the 4-ball configuration, where you put a hollow center ball, nano-coated, followed by a deuterium ball, followed by a salt ball with salts, followed by a tritium ball. And we place that in the center of our 2 spaceship reactors. Our thinking is that we're creating neutrons, but we're waiting to see if something shows up for us. I'd like to see a better diamond structure H3 in our reactors. That's what we're trying to do right now. I hope I'm not going backwards.
It's pretty quiet there.
Our senior part-time scientist is supporting us in the background with all of this good information.
Are you still there, Mr. Keshe?
Maybe when I showed the video, it cut him off again, huh? Maybe that's one way to.
Actually, no, I think he's still here.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm listening. I'm listening to learn. So what do you want to do? What can you do with this?
Well,
Or you want to take piece of knowledge? You want me to tell you something?
so our thinking is that because we're adding in the CO2 in with the CH3, that the carbons are combining together via the salt, the alkalinity and acidity of the two salts. They're playing the game with each other. We're moving the fields, and because we have the addition of the CO2 material into the CH3 material, there are two different carbons that are now linking up in a salt environment. So it's a thinking that we're now creating, I'll call it a different carbon structure.
Yeah.
Within our containers.
Yeah.
Maybe more like a diamond structure.
But or put it this way, why are you trying to create more diamond structure carbon?
Because I'm not sure that we have the perfect fuel in our reactors. You know, our reactors have been spinning now for almost a month.
Yeah.
We're getting a little bit of activity, but we're not.
The reason that you see, I looked at. Can I speak openly about your trials, your test? In one of the videos you sent, I looked at. You show fields and how you measure the fields in past week. The video you sent me, but strange enough is, I repeat myself again, you're not bending it. You're not bending it to use it. You are feeding the ceiling, you're feeding the cat with energy, you're feeding yourself most probably with energy, but you're not carrying on in space. So there is a lack of understanding, or in a way, a new comprehension. I repeated this before when we spoke. The reason you're not getting there is very, very simple. And I repeat it again, maybe we understand.
So remember, we have the big field with the 18 magravs. That's very big.
Yes. No. There is a huge, huge difference why you got the 18 magrav, you have the star formation. The reason you have the 18 magrav is your launching pad to create a balanced environment. Your 18 magrav and a 6 magrav, nothing to do with your flight system. When you put a magrav system and you test it like everybody else does in a room, you have everything flying everywhere. The reason we put the 18 magrav system on the floor and create a 6 and 12 or whatever is to create a homogeneous system, flow of fields without any interaction from outside the ground or whatever. So this is what you haven't understood. Your plates, 18 plates, which I asked you to put your system on, is to balance the fields of it. It's your launching pad. You know, you go to Cape Canaveral, you pull the thing out, you put it on the launching pad. This is your launching pad. So your magrav system have got nothing to do with your flight system. Going back to your flight system, you have another problem, and you have not solved this problem, and that's why now you start looking somewhere else, huh? You're not happy at home, you play outside. Look, you have your star formation. Yeah? So this is your star formation. You're creating the fields. This is exactly what you're doing. I repeated this before. That's why I like you to see. This is what you in Arizona have been doing for months, and it's fantastic what you do, how you do it, and you don't see it. This is what you're doing. And you measure it, you go 200 meters away, you feel it here. You go 400 meters outside the lab, you feel it here. You go everywhere, you feel it. But, as I said, you got to become Beckham, you know, the English football player. You got to learn like a Beckham to bend it. You have to bend the fields. You don't want the fields 200 meters away. You're very happy you can feel it, but my friend, you need the field here. That's why you get no result. I looked at your video last week and I thought, they show it. They have it there, but they don't use it. You're continuously feeding. You're a fountain of energy at the moment in that building, huh? It's no good. You gotta bend it. That as it comes here, it gets more energy, especially with your platform, comes up and it starts building. Bend it like Beckham, as I said many times to you. And I saw again your colleague standing up measuring the fields with a buzzer. It will not work because you open the fountain. Once you know, once you bend this in, then it comes. I'll show you how it works, how it's supposed to work. Is you create a fountain of fields and then it hits a solid barrier. What does it do? It splashes. At the moment, if you remember, you said to me you can feel the wind, magnetic wind above it. And this discussion has been going on with you in Arizona, that this field means you're losing energy. You created a wind. You should feel no wind. In the Chinese system, I tested it. I put my hand on. I tried to feel. There is no wind because we have managed to bend it. And when you stand in front of the system, it's just like, you know, you get a cold, chill wind in your forehead when you walk. It's cold. When I was standing in front of it a few days ago, I said to the guys, I feel the wind in my forehead. Because if you put our hand above it, we don't feel any. We have managed to bend it. Because we have created a condition of bending it. It's no use using for other things, because when you don't bend it, you cannot feed it back. The feeding back of this one, the feeding back of this one, the feeding back of this circulation, yeah? And the total feeding back between the three will give you the light and will give you the physicality. And you say you've been trying for a month, you don't listen for a month.
So right now we're using the aluminum plate that looks like a pie pan. We're bent back around.
Okay, now go back and understand the concept of the aluminum plate and what we discussed. This is top secret information I'm teaching you. It's highly classified. The Americans will kill you. They come and take your system, but doesn't matter. You're American, they won't touch you, you become part of NASA. So, you got to understand, I said to you months ago, you have managed to create the field, the wind, and that was a breakthrough. In China, we have managed to block it, which means we have the diversion of the fields. I put my hand 3-4 times to see if I feel the field. Because if I could feel a flaw, it means I had a leakage. I don't have a leakage. So You have to create a condition that when the fields come up through this, what they call uh, orifice of the three reactors fields, plus now you have the launch pad, which is a huge amount, they can hit the top core, and like you know, you put a jet against the water, it splashes back. There is no difference. But the difference between your system and when you put your system on a run is that in your system, your top core is rotating too. And you're hitting a rotating ball. So what you get? You get a homogeneous 360 rotation, balance field. It should be very easy to achieve it, but you're not bending it. As long as you can put your hand on top and you can feel a wind, it means there's a leakage. The leakage is going to the dog, to the cat, to the ceiling, but it's not bending in. I showed this in the Sensano years ago. We used to switch the light off. Armin is here, can explain to you. And we used to watch the fluorescent lights. And the fluorescent lights, after we switched off in the dark at night, it was like a firework, because they were still lighting the fluorescent tube, sometimes for 2 or 3 minutes. Because the flow, it was showing me that the systems are perfect. We're releasing a lot of plasma in the building. In your system, find a way to bend it, and you have the system with you how to bend it. But you don't see it, and I tried and I explained to you, you're not using part of your system you set up. Without rotation of those balls which you put on the central line, you'll never bend it. You have to create a field that it pulls these down. And it pulls them down the minute they come here. All the knowledge has to be used which I've taught, and you can do it. Is now because you get no success with what you're doing because you're not utilizing the whole system as you have. Now you start looking for something else, playing outside. You have to create a condition that once the jet of fields coming from the three base up, hitting the top, it can bend. And then you get to a point that the field flow from the top can be so strong that you don't need the field flow from the three base. They just stay as a coordinator. In the more advanced systems, you don't see a flow of fields going from the three to the top. You load up your reactor in a way that the motion of the fields from the top reactor, it reaches the three base reactor. So your physicality never can be touched. The integrity of the flight system stays. You're looking, as I said, you start playing outside again because you can't see how the system is, how your energies are going. And I saw, can you show your video where you go with a buzzer everywhere? Have you got that available? This last week you sent it to me.
I could find it, yeah.
Okay, show it to me and then I'll show you the flow in your system.
So remember, the only reason the buzzer is working is because we have the 18 magravs plugged into the wall. If I turned off that magravs plugged into the wall, then we only have the battery power and the buzzers won't work.
Yes, that's why I got to tell you what your problem is.
Okay, so I'll find that. Let me find it in the background.
Okay, no problem. Any other question?
Good morning, Mr. Keshe.
Hi, Dr. Azar. We haven't heard from you for a long time.
Yes. I have a question. What's the difference between the liquid light and pure light?
What do you mean?
Because when we get to the consciousness, there's different level of consciousness. We are right now we are three-dimensional. Like it means we are actually very primitive. So as we go in the different level of consciousness, we go. The ultimate one is a pure light. The one before that is liquid light. So when we become pure light, it means we become one with the Creator. So I want to differentiate. I mean, I want to know the difference between them.
I don't understand how you created a liquid light and you create a pure light. The light which you talk about, the light of the Creator, is one, doesn't have any liquidity in it. It is the essence of its existence. When you talk about the liquid light, then you're talking about the matter state, what the man understands. Sometimes when you reach certain condition in flight system, your plasmas start creating different light conditions. But
So when we talk about, like for example, when we talk about Jesus had got to like the point of 15-dimensional consciousness, it means the higher level of consciousness, and then there's a difference between 7 level or 8 level or 9 level. So the ultimate one, which is the one that matches the Creator, because even when we leave the planet Earth, when we go to the space, our work is not done. We're escaping the whole, prison at the moment. The planet Earth to me is a prison. So when we go, we just go maybe to the 4th level or 5th level, but then we still.
So you change your prison to the galaxy level prison, and then you change yourself to universal prison.
Yeah,
you're in prison all the way through, but it's enlightenment.
Yes, but ultimately, the only time we get out of everything, just when we get one with the Creator.
Goes back to the teaching of a few weeks ago, or a couple of weeks back, is that the soul of the man is a reflection of the existence of the soul of the Creator. Without it, the other one cannot confirm its existence. So within the soul of the man is the soul of the Creator. I keep on teaching from day one. Birds with birds, doves with doves, wolves with wolves. So how can you not see, how can not manifest in the light if you don't carry the strength of the light of the Creator? The conformation of the light of the soul of the man in presence of the soul, because it has to be at the strength of a soul, not matter state. The manifestation of matter state of the soul is the brain of the man and the physicality of the man. The manifestation of the soul of the man as a light can only be done if it finds its own match to interact with, which is the strength of the soul of the Creator. So what else do you want? How far you think you're far? You think you're missing something.
Maybe the position of the Creator has its own set of problems and responsibilities that.
Oh, Creator has a lot of problems, don't it?
Because Mr. Keshe, I was thinking.
میسه فارسی گر خواهی درد دلم بدانی یک شب بیا پهلوم بمانی. It's a say from Hamadan. Hamadan is that, yeah, and you have to say it with the accent of Hamadanese. My mother's side from there, from the Jewish side of Hamadan, and they said with a beautiful accent. What it says, if you want to know my problem, my pain, come and stay with me one night, then you see it. Yeah. So if you want to know the problem of the Creator, come with me. I'll show you. You don't want to have his job.
You know, Mr. Keshe, I was walking the other day and then I was encountering so many people in so many different types, and I was thinking, you know, God created man in the image of himself, and why did he have to create all these type of people in his own image?
No, no. The image is image of, it's actually part of his soul. The image of physicality comes in the dimension of what I call the physical condition of this planet or any other planet. If you go in planet Zeus, you might have 20 legs and 4 arms. So it doesn't mean that's the image of the God, but the creator is the image of interaction of the soul with the environment which gives that. It's what they call transmutation of elements, or it's this transmutation of fields and energies. It's totally different thing.
Mr. Cash, there is a question on YouTube.
Yes, ready.
From Stephen Lee. He said, fields of north and south are dynamic for, from Stephen Lee, do these magnetic fields of north and south, are they static fields or dynamic?
Can you repeat that?
Okay. Do these magnetic fields of north and south, are they static magnetic field or
static?
Dynamic?
Fields are never static. I've never seen a field being static.
I think he was referring to your picture that you had earlier with the north and south, as it looked like sort of static bar magnet kind of north and south.
No, I'll put an arrow there which shows the flow of the field. When you use a solid magnet, you have what we call entry and exit. If you understand the process of which side is exit, which was the entry in respect to gravitational magnetical, because they both exist in the same phase, then you're talking about the flow of the fields, and there is no static magnetic field. It doesn't exist because magnetics are always in a flow.
So could that process be done with physicality magnets, with actual north to north magnets, as opposed to rotating magnets or some sort of rotating magnetic field? Would it have to be rotating, or could it be still?
Oh, you can do all sorts, yes.
The idea is just to have the opposing magnetic fields is the main thing, it seems.
No, we didn't put opposing magnetic fields. We put the north and south, because you have to go back to the explanation of the magnets, the way we look at it. Yeah? And that is, what do you call it? The flow of the magnets, the way we have taught for some time, is very simple. The magnet has, especially if you do a dynamic round one, has an outgoing and it's got an incoming. Outgoing in magnetical, incoming in gravitational. But at the same time, it has an incoming gravitational and outgoing magnetical. So when you look at the dynamic plasmas, I have to move some things here you don't see, but I don't see my board. So when you have a dynamic, or you have a spherical reactors or plasmas, you have to understand, as the magnetical system goes that way, yeah, the gravitational system goes this way too, which is magnetical to the other one. But this is the same process. This is what I've said in many of the teachings. This is your magnetical, this is your gravitational. There are 4 field forces involved, not 2. And the existence of these 4 field forces create a plasma condition of different strengths, leads to the creation of different materials. It's a big difference. But in the space of the universe is not all this. There is some of this too. there is some of this too. Because one does not stay with one. One shares with another one. That's what the molecular structure is. And the whole universe works this way. And the way, if you go back in one of the teaching of the creation of universe, I explained this because it has to be understood. The plasma of the creator, or the dimension of existence a bit, if you look at the universes in the long run down the line, it's very much like this. By the size of the universe, you can set the closeness to the main center. Because as the structure said, if you go back in my teachings, I say you have to understand the energy amount of the neutron in each universe, because it's not the same. In here is 10K, let's say, energy. Here is 9K, here is 7K. So by the size of the universe and position of it, you know how far you are from the position of the original creation. Look at it, the structure of the solar system. You have the sun, and then you look, what do you have in the boundary? Tiny ones. Then you have a giant one, which they absorb. They are not mass, the mass inside is very small, but they absorb lighter gases, so they are gaseous planets. They're just a magnet for those. And then, but when you come to the planet structure, when everything is stripped, you get the same size, and then you understand it. It's very, very tiny in distance. It's dust particles. And then you see as it becomes a planet, and then with all the moons of it. It's the same process here. When you look at the galaxies, you see an aura around it, which is a creation of their magnetic field. In the near future, when the man travels into space, at the moment, let's say what scientists show us is, they show us this gaseous condition, they call it galaxy blah blah blah. But in the advancement of the science, man will understand more, you will see in the strange exhibits around it. A galaxy has its own magnetic field rings. Very much like us, because a galaxy is a gaseous element of the plasma. And for it to balance itself with the other level, at different level, it creates its own rings. So it's how we physically perceive, but in reality it's not that way. But on the other hand, man has got millions of years to go before he can reach, if he understands what I call the position, understanding the working of the structure of the principle plasma, what I call the source, the creator.
I have the video on the background if you're ready for it.
We are ready for you anytime. Do you want to let me go out? No. Can somebody, Rick, can you change the screen for him, please? Yep.
We're here in Arizona, and we just made a new setup right here of the new Starship reactors that we put, and we activated again the spacecraft configuration that we had from the very beginning, and we are comparing the fields around the whole table, and we saw that it's increased 1/3 of what we had before. The reason now we have really a huge kind of sombrero shape, you know, thing that goes almost to the center, and then a big head.
Show them where the void is, David.
And
Show it how it has like a void.
right here in this area, that's
So
where
there,
the
stop.
sombrero
But if you go
shape
up and down,
begins. See, you can see here
yeah,
where it begins, and then
stops,
right here is
and
the
it
other.
picks up.
It's about this
Yeah,
void,
yeah.
void in between, and then if I found the point of the void, it's right there, and then goes up.
And it's beeping right there.
Yeah, you see that point where you go up and beeping up is the fields which are coming in from your system. It shows your leakage. That bulge on the top shows a massive leakage, because now you have confined the space to, and then at that point it becomes matter state or electron or plasma field of the matter state, and you feel it. The reason it goes up on top of near the system, it shows there's so much field are leaking. In fact, you should see no fields in there and bending in.
Mr. Keshe, can you tell him how to bend it?
Oh, they know how to do it. Is by, uh, look at it this way, by the transfer of a gradient of fields. You have to create a lower fields at the lower level that it can go to it, to feed it. And that's all it needs to be done, but somehow it's not getting done. It's understanding the flow of plasma. Dr. Rodriguez does it. By the way, Dr. Rodriguez, congratulations and greeting to the newborn. The understanding of it is that you can be at a position to do it. That you can extend it. That you can bend it inside. Then you see the structure. Those 18 cores are there to hold, and they're doing their job. What you show me is exactly what it's supposed to do. So if you look at it, the 18 cores are like the eggshell. And you have a chicken inside which is jumping out. This is what I said, you have to understand. The 18 core are your launch pad. Nothing to do with your flight system. But in a way, their existence allows homogeneous energy to be available that the base cores can pull in, that they can become part of it. Is your rapid, what you call, deployment of fields.
Love
What's the use of,
yourself.
pardon?
Is it love yourself?
Oh, that's got nothing to do with the love. This is pure plasma transfer.
Yeah, give to yourself. So, what is the soul of the reactor?
Yeah. It's so many ways. It's in the center, but you have to find it to be able to adjust it. It's conversion which is missing in this, and there's no use going and trying to find better fuel. You have everything there, and you show it. You show there is a dome. Suddenly it's there. So that there is the leakage from your center going up. You're going to bend it in. The first dome with a gap is what the maglev systems are producing. They're containing, they're doing exactly what they are supposed to do. And the second one is doing its job, but you have a leakage, you have a hole in your pipe. The balloon is bursting and leaking, so you have to bend it. do we understand, John?
In the old days, I could call it a long time ago, like 5 years ago, when we were talking about the gaseous reactors and the first reactors that people were building, it was always rule number one that the plasma doesn't touch the walls of the reactor, and that different types of coating, nano coatings and so on would be advised to repel the plasma and keep the plasma from touching the walls of the reactor, which would be true in like a nuclear reactor or other intense field type reactors like that as well. It's one of the main problems they have in these fancy, high tech, very expensive CERN and other type situations is when the plasma touches the walls of the reactor, it's usually, that's the end of the experiment and
Because
time to invest several million dollars again. Pardon me?
It's a bore, that's a hot plasma. This is where
Yeah.
you're dealing with a cold plasma. You're dealing with a universal plasma, not even a cold plasma.
So are the principles not the same as far as, like you had a shield at one point, John mentioned, I think the aluminum plate or other types of plate. You showed one in the earlier, in Sasanos, I think it was, with the nano-coated copper kind of dome that Armin was working with.
Yes, I mean, we done that in the Sensano. The people have been so close in all the time from the Sensano to be able to create a flight. And I keep on saying, oh my God, you don't, but it's there. I'm a worse teacher, but I'm one of the easiest people to teach. The worst thing about me is I don't spoon feed. And the example of it is, I try to spoon feed you with a maggraph system and you see what a mess is created. They went backward to destroy themselves. And everything which was wrong with it. Nobody built it, this is it, let's build on the next step, we done this. And you played in the hand of those people who wanted to discredit. So you don't, why should I do the same again? I've taken charge of the flight system with the Chinese, and I'll get it through and it'll fly the same as I did with Iran. It's not that there is one or other or there is any difference. We're just allowing the development. I have a problem with Americans developing this. No, I have no problem. But John is very intellectual. John understands. He's been with the CERN group. He's done the CS group. He knows his magnetic field work very well. And it has to be done by a layman, not by a scientist. But what is going to be, we had a, what do you call it, Cold War and nuclear war race. Now it's going to become American-Chinese? No. I've shared a lot of knowledge with you in the past 2 or 3 weeks where it comes from, what do you call it, the understanding of the technology that both do the same, because when I do it for one, I do it for the other. But to me, the technology, the way it's going, the way it is, has to go with the Chinese, because through Chinese we'll find a world peace. I don't see peace through Americans. If we show this system flying in the next 10 minutes, Americans come with the most horrendous way to destroy every nation that they exist. This is my problem. There's nothing wrong with the science, there's nothing wrong with both things. We are all part of the same. And this is, I see the achievement of world peace through the work of His Excellency President Xi. And we know we will achieve it. There is no other choice. There is no other way. You leave the Americans with this technology, they claim they're God, and then God knows they want even breathing charges on the air you breathe. There is nothing wrong with the system. The system is there, it works, they show it works, but they can't, as I say, they have to call David Beckham to come and bend it for them. Watch the movie called Bend It Like Beckham, and then you understand.
Pardon me, what did you say? Bend it like Beckham?
Beckham. No, David Beckham, the footballer, there is a movie made because he's famous the way he can bend the ball to go into the goal.
Oh, okay.
So one of them, we saw one of these goals last night.
That's what you meant by bending when you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, Beckham created a condition of a sliding football.
It's like a hook or slice in golf.
Slicing it, yeah.
Yeah.
And that core on the top has to be that the slicing kick that it bends the field. Would you achieve it by changing composition in the top core? Would you achieve it by creating new plasma directions? It all is all there to be done. It's all to be done. But the biggest problem is, as we fly today, we're in Beijing, in America, in wherever. So what? How are we going to get in it? So what? How are we going to get out of it if by accident we happen to be inside it? You saw the guy, he's there with a buzzer, suddenly the field creates, he's inside and you're outside. How are you going to get out? John, you can shout as much as you like. How are you going to do it? How you manage to create that door for him to come and go and in? How do you transfer energy across? Then once he's in there, if he's got stuck in there, how you feed him? What happens if your cat gets in there accidentally when the system is getting made? It just happened to sleep under there and it's part of the system. I can't find a cat, but I know it's in there. How do you feed it? How do you get the cat out? How do you feed it? How do you keep his physicality that it doesn't lose his soul with the physicality? How do you don't decompose the body of the man through magnetic fields like a sugar in a hot water? You create a fields that there is no physicality. Don't think this has happened many times in the space. And it happens every day because nothing works according to the plan. There is a rule that you change your systems every so often in the universe because there's a possibility that they get cluttered and you have problems and then you can lose this and that, or you find problems creating new animals out of it. The fun starts once we show it's done. Once we show the fields, you are ahead. Arizona has been ahead for months. And the only thing is left, somehow you keep on going for a stronger field. You have everything. You show it. The last video shows it exactly. Just bend it. Just pull it in. That is in pulling down, in interaction with its own field. Doesn't need to buzz. You need to light. I don't see at this moment, till you don't find a way to bend that field, there is any need for new fuels. You have everything right. You got the composition right. Everything looks to be perfect. And this has been a discussion for months now with Arizona. One of the first things I did in the test in China was to feel the top. Do I feel a wind? Do I feel a magnetic wind? And there was nothing there. And at the height I stand, I said to the guys, I feel the wind in my head. It's hitting my forehead. Because I feel that it's the strength of the soul of the man. I can see it. I could see light. We've seen the smoke coming out because of conversion of energy to matter. We are very advanced in China. I love the people I work with in China. It's sincere. It's their one direction. We'll achieve it. And I keep the government continuously debriefed that we don't become something as part of achievement of one part of this planet, and they will be shared with others. If anything happens to me, there is a key that it can be replicated, and I'm sure the Chinese will release it, Chinese Keshe Foundation team will release it worldwide. Because this time has to be equal knowledge across this planet. But this time we have to use the knowledge for the purpose of peace. Maybe there is a reason there is a delay in Arizona till it is achieved in a different direction. When the Americans change their tune to peace, they will achieve it. The true peace, not by gun policy, the way they say we produce guns more. We kill more to create peace. What a nonsense. Any other question? I have a notice in the background that we had Jalal talking about his little worm. If you like to show it to us, I know you showed it in a couple of teachings, and we told you last week you can come and show it to us. Are you there?
Yes, Mr. Keshe, I'm here.
Would you like to show what you call your little worm, please?
Yes, of course. Maybe Flint is ready with the picture and the video.
Yeah, sure.
Thank you, Flint. We call it a name. Rick have a name for it.
Well, we'll have to have a look at the image here, but when I saw the image of this little creature thing that Jalal's pet, it reminded me of the horseshoe crab. And I know Mr. Keshe has talked about the horseshoe crab in the past. It's this unusual animal that has a history of 450 million years. It's the oldest living creature, basically. And it has something unusual in that its blood is blue, meaning it has copper in its blood. So I thought that was maybe relevant somehow. We looked at pictures of the horseshoe crab, but first we should see the actual images that Jalal has here. So we
explained the reason for the blue blood is because of the cesium oxide in the blood. Carry on. We explained this long time ago in the teaching.
Okay, we see the image from Flint there now. This is from the last International Testimonials meeting on Monday.
Do you want the sound, Jalal?
Just I would like to show something. I will. I cannot annotate. Okay. If you see, there is this creature here. We call it creature. This one. I cannot. Okay.
Can you use I don't know it and shows us where? Is that red, that ball in the corner, you mean?
Yes, this ball. This ball, yes, exactly. This ball was a little bit down before the 1 week. It is a little bit 1 centimeter, 2 centimeter down. In this hole, there is a hole. You see, there is a round hole. This one was exactly here. Yes. And I have the picture of it. That was last week when you speak about what I have. And in the testimonial, when I came and make a video of it, I noticed that this wall is moved to the edge. And now when I move a little bit the water, you will see a whitish, before when I first saw it, it was a tail. It's going out like a tail. It's exactly as Rick bring the picture, and in this also in this video, it was a tail coming out of it, and yeah, a little bit more. Yeah, exactly like this. And now, if you concentrate in the image, you will see the whitish, and it's the same. The same. It's not the tail is not big, but the small one, and there is a lot of whitish, let's say, hair. Some kind of, yes, exactly like this. But we can see it in the video if they play it. It was in this area, and the guys, they can checked it in the last video we done, and today it's moved to this place. When I shake the water, you see there is something attached to it. And since last time I sealed it here, I didn't move it. And I didn't do anything with it. And today when I opened this one, I saw that it moved to the other place. This one before about
Does
3-4
it have
months.
do you see it contracting or expanding? Do you see a beat in it?
What's the meaning of beat, Mr. Cash?
A heartbeat, a pulse.
I don't know. I must see it again and focus on that. One of the followers said I should put a time lab video camera, and I'm going to do that.
Jalal, how do you know it's a creature?
Okay.
You don't know. How do you know?
I don't know. This ball was in the middle, exactly in the middle.
Yeah, you see one of the things is we see this quite a lot, and that is the materials due to the dynamic flow of the gases move. We've seen this before.
So how I gonna check if it have a heartbeat? Should I take it out?
I don't know.
Jalal, I think you should wait. Just observe it.
It's we see the flow of dynamic flow of material. The more it's literally like a cancer cell, it grows. But if it's growing and it's moving, it's not. It can be due to the flux flow of the fields in the GANs.
Yeah, could be. But it's beautiful. I actually I like it.
Yeah, we see that. Yeah, it's structure, but you have to understand what it is. If it's gaining mass, what has it got a process of life? This is a wash GANs. This is not a salt GANs, is it?
Yeah, it's a washed GANs.
Because when you have a salt gans, usually you start seeing the structure of the crystal salt around your container coming up. And that creates a confined environment for life to grow in it. And then you see conversion of the materials through the field interaction. And when you have a structure like this, is very much environmental plasma condition.
But you know, Mr. Cash, I am not 100% sure that this water, what I used for the GANs, is pure water. I think it is
yeah, you
from
see, the
seawater.
thing is, somewhere, if it is a structure with a life in it, somewhere the protein, when you've been cleaning, is still being transferred through. And some of protein has linked up with the gas with the CH3 or with H3, whatever. Now it has an energy support system to live. Yeah.
I am sure that there is some of amino acid there, and the water is seawater.
Yeah, it's possible. You got to understand what is and how it is, and how it was created. A lot of us do these things because we just do it, and then something happens. Then we have to go through back to the process, see where it is, where it came. Many of you have created creatures in your packs because you just don't consider that amino acid on the top for much, but that much is a life which begins. Because you just need it to attach to it, to the calcium of it, you attach it to magnesium, calcium, you attach it to anything else which might be in that environment.
Actually,
the image of the horseshoe crab there now, and it's very much similar to the.
and really, Mr. Cash, when I saw it the first time, that before 3-4 months, it is exactly like this shape, but the tail, it's not from down here. The tail nearly from the, not in the middle, a little bit to the middle. And then it changed the shape of the tail.
It's funny, they call that tail that we just saw in the picture the photoreceptor array. It's just photoreceptor array. And look at all the eyes this little guy has. He sees in many ways, in many directions.
You can't create anything, depends what the conditions being created.
Maybe there was actually some DNA or protein from a horseshoe crab from the ocean.
In the seawater, yep.
Yeah.
Or maybe from me. That is,
since when you become a shoe crab?
My ancestor.
Thank you very much. Thank you indeed.
Thank you, Mr. Cash.
Thank you indeed. We're seeing the same thing, as we said, with labs in China. And we have to see what happens and how we get to this point, and how we reach to the. In the future, we will set out to create. We will set out to create entities. The way we set out to create aluminium and zinc. We'll set up. I was talking to some scientists once. I said, if the man understands and can create, now you have a fish farm, you can create a fish out of the fields, a very healthy fish without any diseases. If the target is to create muscles and tissues of a fish, you can do it. We have the knowledge. We don't need to play with the genes. We can create a condition that allows that kind of life to expand and exist.
Mr. Keshe, we have a couple more things to kind of push through here. We have Xi, who's had his, you mentioned President Xi earlier, and I was actually looking at the name Xi when you said that word. Had his hand up, and I'm wondering if they would like to go ahead with whatever question or comment they had. Xi,
Yes.
would you like to go ahead there?
Is that from China?
I'm assuming so. The last name is Wang, so it is. Not opening the microphone at this point. Okay, well, if you decide that you have a question there, maybe your hand was up accidentally, I'm not sure, but we'll work that out. In the meantime, Powell had a question, and I'm not sure if he can actually talk right now. Maybe you can, Powell, and ask your question that you put in the chat. Well, I can ask his question. He says, if we maintain the fields distribution by the top reactor blocking or separate the fields back to the bottom star formation, and then the bottom formation reactors get more pressurized by the higher strength work, what affect their work in a visible way? Are they show new plasma abilities by that?
Can you read it again?
Yeah, it's not making sense to me, so I can't read it in a way that makes sense. Powell, you'll have to ask your question, I think, in order to get the meaning that you get from it. Can you open your microphone there, or can you speak? I can just ask the question again. If we maintain the field's distribution by the top reactor blocking or separate the fields back to the bottom star formation, and then the bottom formation reactors get more pressurized by the higher strength, I think he means fields, what affect their work in a visible way? Are they showing new plasma abilities by that? I think he's saying, what would we see? What would happen basically if these fields were returned back to the bottom fields and it
It
started?
has to be returned back, not if. If it doesn't return back, you don't get physicality.
What would be that physicality that we might get, I think is what he's
The
asking.
physicality depends on the strength and what it is. Initially, there are a number of things which happens. One is the vibration, one is the light, depends on what the strength. You see gaps, sometimes you see stripe gaps because the field tells you it's not correct. This is why the center line is made dynamic to overcome kind of gaps, but there's the knowledge, know-how how to create gap because as a storage, as a door, is all sorts of things.
You mentioned shimmering before.
Yeah, you see it. If you remember on um, the first day when Awan and John were there, they could feel the fields. If they could have brought those fields down, you see shimmering, you see light. That's the next step, and they haven't managed to achieve it in 3 months. The fields are there, they can feel it. Unless we had a very good what do you call it, people who could just talk, but there are 4 or 5 of them, they could feel the fields. They can see it, some different strength, different position. And so all it is conformity, just bring it in and bend it in and that's it. You have to understand there is 2 different total stages and setups in the space flight system. One is the top, which brings the fields in, and one is the bottom, which has to interact with the position of the Earth. that in totality creates what you call it, the lift and motion, at the same time creation of the physical bottom end of the system. This creation of the launch pads we put in there is to ensure total field fault balance. And we need a field force balance to be there. If your system matches to the backdraft system will fly with you as a plate. Very exactly the same as the American system was captured, there's no difference. But this time you take your system, the base load with you, where at that time you capture a flying system on top. Today I've taught a lot. If you understand it, it's just maybe needs analyzing to see how you can develop.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. We do have a presentation from Gatwa, who wanted to give us
Can we
an
know how long this presentation is? Because I think it's coming from the Universal Council meeting on Tuesday. Am I correct?
Gatwa? He wanted to do it in English and in his native language. Let me see.
So it may take about 30 minutes, Mr. Keshe.
Okay. Can you tell us the essence of it, what it is and what we listen to?
It's about teaching plasma science here in Kenya and how that has expanded to include students from Uganda and South Sudan, and how the village, rural communities have accepted it and how it's spreading. So I have the presentation in English and then in Gikuyu.
Yes, go ahead. We can listen to it and maybe inspires others to what to do.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I'll go ahead and share my screen.
Thank you.
Okay. I'll go ahead and talk about plasma science classes in Kenya. We began teaching here in Kenya in 2017 and progress to this date, 2018. Who participates and what they learn. Plasma science books for participants that they have been given. Notable benefits to class participants. Pictures, I'll show pictures of participants and their learning activities, and then summarize and conclude. Plasma science classes began at the Kenya Institute of Organic Farming here. I see there is some background noise. Thank you. Plasma science classes began at the Kenya Institute of Organic Farming Kyiv in September 2017. Plasma science classes for rural communities, farming communities, that is, began in January 2018. But I must say here that they began way earlier in 2016, but they were not structured we did not meet in a particular place. So I would teach farmers or rural communities, a few of them at a time, but now I have structured it where we meet once a week. Both of these classes are offered once a week for rural farming communities on Thursdays and for Kyiv on Saturdays. Plasma science classes have now expanded over time to include students from neighboring countries, Uganda and South Sudan. There are now more than 100 knowledge seekers in our weekly plasma science classes, which are offered at zero cost to participants. Several Uganda and South Sudan students joined my plasma science class at Kyiv in February this year. All South Sudan students and some of the Uganda students are from a school near Kyiv. Uganda students are in Kenya on a student exchange program with Kyiv and the other neighboring school. Some of the Kyiv students who had taken my class in 2017 went to Uganda in the same student exchange program, and while there, they shared knowledge, plasma science knowledge that they had acquired. They shared that with the Ugandan colleagues. Who are the participants and what they learn? Both Kyiv students and rural farming communities have learned Keshe Foundation ethos. I emphasize this very much, which can be summarized as quote unquote, we are here to serve and not to be served. Coiling and nano coating, making and uses of several gases for health and agriculture. Plasma science and technology, they know that it's knowledge in exchange for peace, and they have a few teachings about the soul. These books, we were given permission, Mr. Keshe, thanks to you. You gave us permission to print copies of your 3 books in 2017. You also provided funding for the printing, and we printed 50 copies of each of these books, and we've distributed them now. And since we are growing, so that would mean more books will be needed. Class participants now know how to make and use several gases. These are some of the notable benefits to the participants. The rural farming communities make about 300 liters of CO2 and zinc oxide GANs, liquid plasma, and share among themselves every week. We are now equipped to produce more than 1,000 liters beginning this week. Reports of improved health for participants, their families, and their crops are shared in class every week. And of course, development of Wiko language vocabulary for scientific terms. This is a wonderful development. It's growing. So now I'll show a few slides with pictures of the classes and some of their plasma science activities. This is the school and the students. This school happens to be about 50 miles away from where I live. This is a good attendance. What a good attendance in that school looks like. Here there are about close to 50 students. And here they are holding what they have made, health pads, some of the gases they have made, and yes, that's what they hold here. Here, this one shows a mixture of where the Ugandan students and South Sudanese students and the Kenya students are working on nano coating. In front here, you see copper coils for health pens. And here they have, this one holds a pen, health pen. This is the breathing system. And the guns, some of the guns here. And in the plates, some of the nano-coated materials for making coils for health pens. And here they hold their signed World Peace Treaty. And in this picture, they are holding their copies of the books. Each one of them has copies of the 3 books, book 1 to 3 by Mr. Keshe. And now we go to the farmers here just in the hall. And they are seated in class. mixture of both male and females, a lot of them, men and women. And over time, they have increased in numbers, as this picture shows. And they come with containers because we make the CO2 liquid plasma on site. So they come with containers and then they go home with CO2 liquid plasma. And the growth of this class is very, very encouraging. For the first class, we had 14 participants. 3 weeks ago, we had 88. 2 weeks ago, we had 94. 1 week ago, we had 110. So the numbers are increasing. And some of you may be asking how we advertise. Some of the participants come with health problems. They get well soon thereafter. Then they come again with others to seek more knowledge. And as pictures speak more, worth more than 1,000 words, that picture shows it perfectly. Due to the increase in numbers, last week, this is when 110 participants came, we had to go outside the room to take a good picture of the ever-growing numbers of participants. To summarize, I talked about plasma classes in Kenya that began in 2017 and continue to this date, who participates and what they learn, the books that the participants have been given, notable benefits to class participants, and showed pictures of the students themselves and their learning activities. And in conclusion, the plasma science classes in Kenya include students from Kenya, Uganda, and South Sudan. I and all the plasma science participants in Kenya very much thank Mr. Keshe for his support and donation of copies of his plasma science books, book 1 to 3, and some of these copies were issued to both students from Uganda and South Sudan. That is the end of the English part of this presentation. And for those who want more information, they could email us at any time at agriculture@kfssi.org. And now I'll move to the Gikuyu part. Ndamugeithia muno inyuothe okuria murathikiriria giki ni kiambiriria kia kuonania ni njuno ya maundu maria ndiramuhe haha umuthi ndamurehera ma mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama bururi-ini witu wa Kenya. Mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama nimo plant science Kenya kuma mwaka wa 2017 kinya mwaka wa 2018 ni gwaria wa aria mathomaga na kiria mathomithagio, mabuku ma uthimuri wa gikama maria mahetwo arutwo, maciaro ma bata hari arutwo, na nyonanie ciĩruru cia arutwo na ciĩko imwe cia mathomo mao. Na ngĩrĩkia nĩ ngũmũhe gatũrũ na marĩkĩrĩria. Mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama maambĩrĩirie thukuru-inĩ ya Kenya Institute of Organic Farming KIOF mweri wa Kamugaa mwaka wa 2017. Mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama ma arĩmi matũũra-inĩ maambĩrĩirie mweri wa Mũgaa mwaka wa 2018. Mathomo maya merĩ mathomagwo o kiumia matũũra-inĩ mũthenya wa Wakana na KIOF mũthenya wa Gatandatũ. Mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama nĩ matambĩte mahinda-inĩ kinya magakinyĩra arutwo a Uganda na a Sudani ya mũhuro. Ihinda-inĩ rĩrĩ kwĩna acaria ũgĩ makĩria ma 100 mathomo-inĩ maitũ ma uthimuri wa gikama maria mathomithanagio hatarĩ marĩhi o mothe harĩ arutwo. Gĩkundi kĩa arutwo a Uganda na a Sudani ya mũhuro maambĩrĩirie mathomo ma uthimuri wa gikama kũrĩa KIOF mweri wa Mũgetho mwaka wa 2018. Na arutwo othe a Sudani ya mũhuro na amwe a Uganda moimĩte thukuru ĩ hakuhĩ na Kiof. Arutwo a Uganda me Kenya mathomo-inĩ ma gũkũrania na Kiof hamwe na thukuru ĩyo ya hakuhĩ. Arutwo amwe a Kiof arĩa ndathomithĩtie mwaka wa 2017 nao nĩ mathire Uganda mũbango-inĩ ũcio wa gũkũrania arutwo. Arutwo acio nĩ monirie arutwo a Uganda hĩndĩ ĩrĩa marĩ kũu maũgĩ ma ũthimũri wa gĩkama. Arutwo a Kiof hamwe na arĩmi a matũũra-inĩ nĩ mathomithĩtio mĩtugo ya Keshe Foundation ya thayũ na ũkũrania, na nĩyo tũngiuga na njĩra nguhĩ, kunya no kunyũkie, twĩ haha gũtũmĩkĩra mũingĩ no ti gũtũmĩkĩrwo, kũriginya na gũtũngia cuma, gũthondeka na kũhũthĩra mĩmũmo nĩyo guns harĩ ũgima wa mwĩrĩ na ũrĩmi. Na mĩmũmo nĩ kuga mĩrukĩ, mĩtuĩku, mũtutu, mũmingiri. Tũgatinia kiugo kĩu tũgagĩta mĩmũmo nĩyo guns. Arutwo a Kiof hamwe na arĩmi a matũũra-inĩ no mathiĩte na mbere magathoma ũthimũri na ũturi wa gĩkama, ũgĩ wa gũkũranio na thayũ na mathomo megiĩ muoyo. Nĩ mahetwo mabuku maya matatũ marĩa mandĩkĩtwo nĩ Mr. Keshe, na nĩ atũheire rũtha mwaka ũcio wa 2017 kũrutithia copy, kũrutithia ciĩruru cia mabuku maya, na tũkĩrutithia 50 o ibuku, na agĩtũhe mbia cia kũrutithia mabuku macio, na nĩ tũmahete arutwo a Kiof na Uganda na South Sudan. Nĩ tũrabatara mabuku ma kũheaga arutwo erũ tondũ macio nĩ marathira o ũrĩa mahinda maratũrũka. Arutwo rĩu maya nĩmo maciaro ma bata harĩ arutwo. Arutwo rĩu nĩ mamenyete gwĩthondekera na kũhũthĩra mĩmũmo, nao arutwo a arĩmi a matũũra-inĩ marathondeka mĩmũmo ya CO2 na zinc liters 300 iria magayanaga o kiumia. Na kuma kiumia gĩkĩ twĩna ũhoti wa gũthondeka lita 1,000. Ndũmĩrĩri cia wongerereku wa ũgima wa mĩĩrĩ harĩ arutwo, nyũmba ciao na mĩmera yao ya irio nĩ tũkinyagĩra o kiumia. Naruo rũthiomi rwa Gĩkũyũ nĩ rũratura na rũgakũria ndaũri ya ciugo cia ũthimũri tondũ tũrathomithia arĩmi acio na rũthiomi rwao. Mĩnyũrũrũka ĩno ĩrũmĩrĩire ĩronania ciĩruru cia arutwo na ciĩko imwe ciao cia ũthimũri wa gĩkama. Hau nĩ thukuru ya Kiof, acio nĩ arutwo arĩa athomithĩtie ũthimũri wa gĩkama. Kĩu nĩ kĩrathi thĩiniĩ, kwĩna andũ ta 50. Haha nĩ manyitĩte indo iria marathondeka. Haha nĩ tũcibaũ twa kweheria ruo mwĩrĩ-inĩ, na haha nĩ mĩmũmo manyitĩte ĩrĩa methondekeire o ene. Haha nĩ matukanĩte arutwo Uganda, a Kenya na Sudani ya mũhuro, na haha naho manyitĩte karamu ka ũgima wa mwĩrĩ, gĩkombe kĩa ũgima wa mwĩrĩ, na haha nĩ kĩrĩa gĩa kũnungĩra ya iniũrũ. Ĩno no mĩmũmo, no nĩ maĩ ma mĩmũmo ĩyo ĩgucagio na iniũrũ nĩ ũndũ wa gũthiĩ thakame-inĩ na kũhoria mathĩna marĩa mũndũ angĩkorwo namo. Haha manyitĩte mathangũ marĩa mekĩrĩte irore ma thayũ wa thĩ yothe, ngwatanĩro ya thayũ thĩinĩ wa thĩ yothe ĩrĩa makĩhũrĩte irore. Nao haha manyitĩte mabuku marĩa tũmahete, acio nĩ arutwo a kũrĩa Kiof. Haha nĩ arutwo a arĩmi matũũra-inĩ, na nĩ aingĩ mũno, matukanĩte arũme na magatukana airĩtu na anake na airĩtu, athuri na atumia. Mathiaga makĩongagĩrĩrĩkaga o kiumia, na rĩu nĩ maroka na indo cia gwĩkĩra, mĩkebe, cuba na indo ta icio cia gwĩkĩra mĩmũmo ĩrĩa twathondeka, maĩ ma mĩmũmo ĩyo twathondeka o kiumia tondũ nĩ tũragĩthondeka nyingĩ. na haha marathi makiongagĩrĩrĩkaga, na wongerereku ũcio ũronania na njĩra ĩno, twambĩrĩirie na arutwo 14 gĩkundi gĩkĩ, ciumia ithatũ hĩtũku marĩ 88, ciumia igĩrĩ hĩtũku marĩ 94, na kiumia kĩmwe kĩhĩtũku marĩ 110. Koguo nĩ mũrona ũrĩa marakũra, na nĩ njũĩ aingĩ anyu no morie twanagĩrĩra atĩa nĩguo gũkwo, nĩguo arutwo maingĩhe ũguo, no amwe mokaga na mathĩna ma kwaga ũgima wa mwĩrĩ, thutha hanini makaigua wega, magoka rĩngĩ mena andũ angĩ gũcaria maũgĩ mangĩ, o ũguo kĩenyũ na kĩenyũ gĩkoyanĩra nda, na magathiĩ makĩingĩhaga. Kiumia gĩkĩ kĩrahĩtũkire nĩ ũrĩa maingĩhĩte hĩndĩ ĩno nĩguo mokĩte 110, ona twahũrĩire mbica hau nja harĩa tũthomagĩra, tondũ kũrĩa nyũmba thĩinĩ nĩ maiyũrĩte. Na ngĩrĩkia, reke ndĩmũhe gatũrũ ka maũndũ marĩa mothe ndamuonia megiĩ mathomo ma ũthimũri wa gĩkama Kenya. Mathomo ma ũthimũri wa gĩkama Kenya nĩ Most Plant Science, kuma mwaka wa 2017 kinya mwaka wa 2018. Ndamuonia arĩa mathomaga na kĩrĩa mathomithagio, mabuku ma ũthimũri wa gĩkama marĩa mahetwo arutwo acio, maciaro ma bata harĩ arutwo, ciĩruru cia arutwo na ciĩko imwe cia mathomo mao nĩ ndamuonia hau mũthia-inĩ. Na ngĩrĩkia, arutwo aitũ a ũthimũri wa gĩkama nĩ a kuma Kenya, Uganda na Sudani ya mũhuro. Niĩ twĩ hamwe na arutwo othe a ũthimũri wa gĩkama bũrũri-inĩ wa Kenya, tũgũcokeria Mr. Keshe ngatho cia mwanya nĩ ũndũ wa gũtũnyita mbaru na gũtũhe rũtha na ũteithio wa kũrutithia mabuku make ma ũthimũri wa gĩkama, ibuku rĩa mbere kinya rĩa gatatũ, na mabuku mamwe ma macio nĩ mahetwo arutwo Uganda na a Sudani ya mũhuro. Nĩ ngatho nĩ ũndũ wa gũthikĩrĩria, na mũngĩenda kwandĩka marũa kũmenya maũndũ maingĩ ma ũhoro ũyũ, no mũtũme marũa ma kũgucia agriculture@kfssi.org. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to present in both English and Gikuyu. I presented in Gikuyu partly because I represent the Gikuyu language in the UC, which is a universal council. If there are any questions, I would be glad to answer them. Thank you very much indeed. And I will stop sharing.
Very nice. Thank you, Gatwa.
You're very welcome, Nick.
Dr. Gatwa, how many people totally you think you've taught up to now?
Up to now? The thing is, when I teach one person from one family, for example, then they go ahead and teach others, and then they ask me questions, some by phone. So I would say about 1,000.
We've seen these people with these containers in their hand. What difference has it made to them that they're taking it up? What do they see in it?
Oh, you see, there are many stories. In fact, the picture of the foot that I had there showed a wood that had healed, quite a large one, that was not healing over time, for a long time. And this is only one that I showed, but many have come with such woods and they have healed. Some of them have come with a high blood pressure and that has stabilized. Some of them have come with the complaints of diabetes. In fact, one demonstrated how he always carried candy in his pocket, but now he has no use of the candy because he never uses it. Another one told us that he had injected insulin for 21 years, but now he no longer injects, and he has taken this liquid plasma for about 1.5 years. So it's spreading. I get calls from as far away as...
You see, something like when you speak like this, what we have to understand, or teachers like you, when you teach, where did diabetic come from? And what's the reason behind it? What causes it? Is it the position with the operation of the pancreas? Or is it psychosomatic? And one thing which you have to learn from a lot of people who go for these things is what happened if you just you drink it as your people you teach them to do. What about if you apply it on the both side of the body where the pancreas is, that you change the condition of the pancreas? You have to find a permanent solution, not the replacement for insulin just because it's water. A lot of people who go down this path have to understand this, that in all the health teaching, in the farming teaching, it has to be an understanding that this is not replacing because it's cheaper as just water. It has to bring a condition that brings the body back in order. So you have to stop, and after 6 months, a year, and see what happened. Am I drinking this water for nothing? Now the whole thing has changed. Or am I doing it because I don't take the medicine and don't feel diabetic? So it's important that we don't find a replacement. We find a complete process. That's why in all agreements we call it a process. We don't call it a treatment or whatever, healing. Because it's a process, it has to change. And it's important that when you teach, you allow people to, like reducing the tablets or whatever, as you said, they don't use insulin, they don't take any medicine anymore, and the things have healed. But what happened if they stop using it after 6-12 months? We sort the things from the roots. The working of the pancreas has changed. The working of the emotion has changed. This is what is important, not just replacement. If we go back for replacement, we become another pharmaceutical organization. And what you've done there is beautiful. I think is one of the most wisest moves the foundation made by requesting from you to go back to Kenya from the United States. And I thank you for the time you have put into this. You care for your part of this planet, and you don't limit it just to one, you go to all the students in Uganda and the rest. Then there should be a platform for Africa teaching the way you are going somewhere. I think the way we see with the teaching section, the head of the teaching, as he's done with his country, try to approach the government, try to approach teaching and radios, local radios, and take people with you who have used this. We want to teach more. I think for what you achieved in Kenya is now the next step is to go to mass media and go with your people who have used it and bring it home.
Thank you very much, Mr. Keshe. I will look into that.
Thank you very much indeed. Thank you very much for your hard work. I know it's not easy. Every week being there trying to do it and keep it going is not easy. And I thank you for everything you've done. And especially as the head of the Keshe Foundation Agriculture, you're making a lot of life easier for those who are on the edge and in the front to other things for with the same thing. Is there anything else, or shall we call it a day?
Well, we're getting on in time here. There was the presentation on creating water from Frederic, but maybe we could put that off to next week if you wish.
No, let's see. Let's
okay,
see.
We'll see if
it's I presume a lady.
Frederic, you want to go ahead there?
Yes, sure. Hello. Hi, Mr. Keshe.
Hello. Hi.
So I'm Frederic from France.
Yes, do you want to share your screen to show us?
Yes, please.
You should press that green button on your...
Yes, yes, I know. I'm just selecting the good pictures.
Oh, okay.
Because I am on my phone, so I go. So I wanted to share with you my experiment because I think I have created water, and I wanted to know if it was the case or not. And at first it was a mistake. I created some pads, CO2 pads. You can see I have done diagram to show and to explain, but it's in French and I will do it in English later.
Okay.
So I have done 30, almost 30 or 40, I don't remember, CO2 pads of CO2, yes, and the same number of CuO, ZNO, and CH3. It was to ship for Standing Rock to bring the piece over there. So I took all the CO2 pads and all together and put them in a Ziploc. Each one was in a zip, and all together were in a zip. So it was 30 or 40 pads in a Ziploc closet. And then I did the same with CH3, CuO, and ZNO. See the 4 difference? I have 4 piles of 40 almost pads. And then I put all the 4 piles in another Ziploc. And all these, I have put it in a box, a closet box, dark box. And I was waiting for other pads coming from other places in France and in Spain. I was in charge of gather all the pads and ship them. And well, maybe it was 15 days or 3 weeks. Then the other pads came home. So I opened the box to put the other pads in my box. And when I opened it, I saw there was a lot of water, you know, it was like maybe 1 glass of water. I said, oh my God, there's a leak. And I take all out, I hang it up, and I was looking for the leak, you know, and I check everyone one by one, and there was no leak. So I start to think maybe I have created water. Then I put the pads in another box, not the same one. It was a cardboard box. And I have wait, and the water came back. But I am sure there was no leak in the pads because I hang them up, and there was no water on the floor, you know. So then I have done a second experiment. This is the second. I have done a big pad. It was for an old lady, and it was to put on under his back when she is in bed. And I done a smaller one to put on his chest. I have done it with the machine to seal the plastic, you know. I roll them up very tight and I let them on the table. I was supposed to bring to this lady the pads. And the morning when I came back, there was water everywhere. So I thought it was leaking. There was a leak. And I did the same as the first time. I hang up the pads. I have been waiting for them to dry. And I was looking for the leak, but there was no leak. There was no more water on the floor. So, and there was still water against water in the pads. So I start to believe I have created water again. Then I did a third experiment. I put a Celsius degree thermometer inside at the middle of the pads. I roll them up very tight. And then the two pads, the big one and the smaller one, I put them in, I'm not sure of the name, but it's to make cook, you know, when you cook a meal in the oven. So this time the water won't go on the table, it will stay in the container. And the day after, I took the thermometer, I took it off to watch the temperature. It was 23 Celsius degrees. I let it on the table, and 1 minute later, the temperature was 25 degrees. So inside the roll, the pads roll, it was colder than outside in the house. I checked there was some water in my container. So I checked the pH, it was 8.2, but it is a chemical test, and I can't see if it's up, because the test is stopping to 8.2. So maybe it was more, I don't know. And I have ppm meter, it was 69, and the 69 is very, very pure water. So this is all. Those are my experiments I wanted to share, and to know what do you think about it, if it is really a creation of water or just condensation, or if it's maybe the CO2, the ZNO, and the carbon contained in the plastic has transmuted something in the CO2 in the air and has done HO2. I don't know. Now you'll tell me, Mr. Keshe.
You measure the thermometer, so you know there's a temperature difference.
Yes.
You have tested the CO. It's the same CO, CO2. Am I correct? With the zinc. Can you open up the picture, please?
Yes, in this one, the third experiment, it was a mix with CO2 and ZNO.
But in a different ratio.
Yes.
So you have an energy transfer from one to the other. And in that energy transfer, what you have created is more or less an energy which is what we call transfer. That's what the doctors do. And you capture that energy which is equal to the water. What will be interesting is that put this in a sealed box that no moisture from outside can come in. Repeat the same experiment, but in a sealed box, totally sealed glass, and see if you're still creating water. Then the condensation will be eliminated, it will not be there. And then you see the energy from the transfer of energy. What is the ratio of the two pads in respect to each other?
I didn't calculate it because I have put less water in the smaller one than in the bigger one. So I was sure it was different, you know, and there was a bigger one and a stronger one and smaller.
Put it in a closed container, sealed container, glass container you can see, and see if you still produce the gas, the water.
Okay, I will.
And then come back to us.
Also, I was thinking it'd be a good idea to weigh the pads and before and after to see if there's any weight change in them. Because if they lost the equivalent amount somehow, even though they look like they have it, might be good to just make sure they stay the same mass or weight after and before.
Okay.
Okay, thanks very much.
You're
I
welcome.
told you, everybody is scientists in this technology. You don't need to go to university and have a PhD.
And so I might mention that this would be a great experiment to put into the Plasma Scientific Journal, as long as you can confirm, as Mr. Keshe has suggested, the criteria in it. It's the kind of thing that
Write a paper on it. We've done it very scientifically. We have a gentleman joining us very soon from university, I think from August, September, that he's been brought in especially for scientific papers. So people who do these kind of experiences, you can set it out and lay it out scientifically, can be set out, guided how to make a professional presentation, but not peer reviewing. And this is part of what we set up to do and what we are doing at the moment. And that's why the plasma journal is on, and is to expand, and things like this are vital. What doctors do, some experiments which doctors done to be published. And we have to build it up this way gradually, which in a way, if you look at it, we have everything of, we're setting up a fundamental basis for education for the future. Not only teaching it, laboratory testing, data, testimonial, all is coming in, but we have to organize ourselves. Organization of these testimonials is one of the biggest headaches at the moment in what I see with the Keshe Foundation. They're sitting everywhere. Thousands of testimonials cannot be ignored, but because they're all over the place, they don't count. We need someone to, hopefully, we should be able to do it in the coming time with the new people coming in, to bring this into concentration to one line. Thank you very much indeed. It's fantastic. It's the little observations is what is the difference between the new scientists and those who pay millions just to do something to observe and just fake it. Is there, it's beautiful the way your honesty is there, and you explain what you've done and what it is and how you saw it, and observing little things and building on it.
And I could remind people that the testimonials, International Testimonials meeting, which happens every month, is coming up. I think it's on August 12th.
Can I ask you something?
Way that people can express their experiments.
August 13th.
13th, okay.
The second Monday of every month.
Can I ask you something, you people who are involved with this testimonial? Why don't you make these testimonials as part of the journal? Let the people write it up, and what they did as a paper, and put it as testimonial on the process in the journal. The way Giovanni did with how he precisely explained, anybody with a brain hemorrhage, he explained what it is with a coma, they can walk people out of it. The paper of Giovanni has to be published by the journal as a scientific paper. He's done the scientific work, and everything is there. It just needs to be organized as a proper, not just only a presentation now. You know, scientists do scientific work and they go to a conference and present it. Giovanni has presented in the, what do you call it, part of the week for the presentation of space technology, that 2 days. So now published as a paper. Mother reads it, father reads it, they have a child or a brother or whatever in coma, they follow it. It's beautiful the way Giovanni has done it. And it just became a presentation. It has to be converted in a proper paper, not just for the Maltese television, but set it out. This is how it was done, the way Giovanni shown, and the way he's explained. Add a video to it.
Well, that's the thing, is Giovanni would have to do that and publish it somewhere, because all of that we
Somewhere
do.
it's got to be published on the Plasma Journal.
No, well, no, only the link gets published in the Plasma Journal.
We
The
have
actual
to get the
publishing has to be
paper
done
published.
somewhere else. People have to actually post their papers somewhere else other than the Keshe Foundation, because we're not supposed to associate certain experiments and so on that people do directly with the Keshe Foundation.
It's a journal. It's a journal. It's a journal. This is a journal. You can
yes,
publish.
and the journal, in order to enter your entry into the journal, you send the link from wherever you have posted your experiment to the journal, and we post the link as well as maybe a picture or write-up or something. But people have to actually post their own experiments somewhere else other than the Keshe Foundation, and then provide us the link and a short write-up of what it's about. That's just a separation that they want to keep there, apparently. So it makes it a little awkward, because then people are responsible for posting it somewhere, and it makes it more difficult. It's one step that they have to do independently to present it to us and then send us the information through our form. It'd be nice if we had more of a smoother way of doing that. I think that's being worked on. Maybe a form that was easier to fill out with, the criteria that we need to see and so on. I'm not sure. Maybe we can find a better way to go about it.
Okay, thank you very much. Anything else? Any other questions anywhere?
I don't.
I know Werner is answering a lot of questions in the background to people.
Yes, there was one maybe quick question you could answer. It was regarding when we saw Jalal's shape in the container and so on. And MV says in the Q&A, molds of different colors and shapes will form if some aminos are still in there with the container. If there was a polluter of some kind, the molds will create a transparent cloth around them to feed itself, it appears, like fungi do with hair. Is there any danger in these developing molds? They're very interesting to watch.
Not really. I've watched them many times. It's the beginning of, it's an anchor point. And what we learn from it in the future counts. I think once we start a deeper teaching and understanding, a lot of these things will be taken up to be done and to be promoted and to be studied.
Okay, very good, Mr. Keshe. I think we've
very much. We covered.
Gotten a lot out of you today.
Yeah, but it's okay, no problem. We teach freely, and understanding is depending on the listener and what they can do with it and what can be promoted. The whole structure is to keep afloat a system that we can develop a meaningful international structure as one nation. And we are pushing it that way, we are promoting it that way, we are extending it that way. And somewhere down the line, sooner or later, this blockage which has appeared against the Keshe Foundation worldwide will open up. It's very strange, we have so many supporters, but nobody can speak about it. So you understand there is a bigger force behind trying to, what I call, keep us at bay, that we don't shake the apple cart. But in so many ways, the apples are eaten and the cart is empty. So shaking it doesn't make much difference. You have bitten the apple of the knowledge of the plasma technology. So as you teach it, as you go ahead and we develop it, and what we see coming through space technology will change a lot of things, and we'll go to the next steps. The key to breaking through this technology is not the energy or agriculture or health, it's the space, which gives a lot of freedom, and this is where most of the efforts at the moment are. And hopefully soon, from what we see, if everything goes correctly and nothing goes wrong, the tests which are running at the moment should start showing results. It was very strange, as I said, when I saw the first large quantity of smoke, because that gave indication that the energy is getting converted. And that conversion of energy is important for us to bring it, create it, and hold it, and create lift and motion and the rest of it. Thank you very much for today. And hopefully we meet again on 233 teaching, and we'll see how far, what we extend the knowledge with. Thank you indeed, Dave. Thank you very much for everything is done in the background with all the people. And today is another day of knowledge gaining. And I hope we gain enough to start flying in Arizona. Thank you very much and goodbye.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you very much. I think you've given us quite a bit here today. And certainly John has enough fire to keep him going there for a while, I think. Okay, let's wrap it up for today. This has been the 232nd Knowledge Seekers Workshop for Thursday, July 12th, 2018. And I think Flint has something for us to take us out with here. And thank you everybody for attending. See you next week.
Hello. We are the Keshe Foundation. Our mission is to bring peace on Earth and join humanity with the universal community. We wish and work to bring man as equal to all beings in the universe. By teaching plasma science and technology equally to everyone, no one is left out and no one is abused due to lack of knowledge. By donating to us, you can help achieve this goal. keshefoundation.org/donate.
Plasma products found at keshefoundation.org/store. Soothing, reusable plasma eye and migraine mask. Eliminate eye fatigue and relieve stress in eye area. European certified medical device. Massaging plasma insoles. Bring comfort back to your feet and energize your legs. European CE certified medical device. Antiseptic plasma liquid hand soap. Promotes well-being and relaxation with protective plasma formula. CE certified. One Soul Plasma T-shirt. GAN's formula within the symbols and stripes brings mind, soul, and body into balance. European certified. Pain Relief Pen. Emits a concentrated plasma field at point of pain, efficient up to 3 centimeters below the skin. CE certified. The Magrav's Energizer and Alkalizer raises pH and energizes water through magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Pain Relief Pad, a result of years of research in nanoplasma technology with magnetic and gravitational fields. CE certified medical device. Visit the online store at keshefoundation.org/store or find a distributor near you. Tax and shipping not included.